All right. It looks like we are live. Welcome back to yet another BriHive live stream. It has been a while. I feel like doing these once a week live streams, it's so much time in between, but also it gives me a little bit of break and to catch up on everything that we need to cover. Anyways, for those of you who do not know me, I'm Boss Attorney Bree, and welcome to all the new subscribers that we got over the weekend or over the last week after doing our last live stream about the Sonya Massey case. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Welcome back to all the original OG BriHive members. We are back and we have more to cover today. We have some updates in the Sonya Massey case, and we have some commentary on the Black Swan, aka Ashley Benefield's case. I do want to watch her cross-examination. I do have to admit that I did not watch the full trial. I am guilty of not watching the full trial. However, I did watch her direct examination, her cross-examination, and then I watched day one. And I have not gotten into closing arguments yet. Work has been like crazy for me the last couple of weeks, and I anticipate that's going to go on for a couple more weeks, and then hopefully I can get back into the groove of things. But at least we're sticking to our live streams every week, so I'm happy about that. But anyways, if you've been watching the Ashley Benefield case, you know that a verdict already came back on it. So we are going to watch her testimony. I'm going to give my commentary on her testimony. And that's pretty much all I have for the case. We're going to end the stream with that. To start the stream, we are going to talk about Sean Grayson, the cop who unalived Sonya Massey while he was supposed to be assisting her in basically like a crisis call, and he ended up unaliving her. We have a summary. I have an article that's like a summary of the bad things and the poor performance as a cop he had and as an army person and all the charges that he has against him. We have a good summary on that. And then we also have the 911 calls to listen to from Sonya Massey and her mother basically like throughout the day before Sean Grayson got there. And it's crazy, guys, because we've said in the other video that it's almost like she knew he was a bad guy, but it's almost like her mom can feel that he was a bad guy too. I haven't listened to the 911 calls all the way, so this is going to be like a live reaction from me, but I do want to go into those. And again, that article also has a pretty good summary of what's going on or how they got to that point of Sean Grayson and the other cop coming to her house that night, although they had been coming there, I think, like multiple times that day. So we have updates on that. And we also have updates on where she was actually struck. And that's the one I was trying to find the article, had 3 articles, and I couldn't find the third one. And that was the one. It was the medical examiner, the one that explained what happened to her. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the live stream. I felt like that intro was like all over the place. So hopefully y'all kind of caught the gist of what we are covering today. Oh, and I forgot because I never announced things at the beginning. We do have a Discord, a BriHive Discord now. I did not link it. Kimmy, can you grab the link and drop it in the chat and maybe in the description box so that the people that have not joined the Discord can join the Discord so we can all chat up and talk about new cases that's coming up or just your day, whatever you guys want to talk about in the Discord. So yeah, because we're not too active yet. It's a new Discord. So we would love for more of you guys to join. If you haven't already, please do hit the like button. We are going to actually set a like goal for the stream. So here we go. We are already at 14 likes with 17 people watching live. So shout out to the BriHive for that. We're going to go ahead and make our like goal for the stream 60 likes. That's it's not an odd number, but it's a different number. I'm going to make the like goal. No, you know what? Let's bump it up. Let's go ahead and make the like goal for the stream 75 likes. That way I can remember it as an interval of 25. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. We need to hit. We need to hit our goal, our 75 like goal for the live stream. And shout out to everyone on the replay crew that also hit the like button. Let me go ahead and jump into the chats, y'all. I feel like I'm like off base. Do I not know how to stream anymore? But let's go ahead and jump into the chat. We know we miss Bossy B, so let's bring her in. All right, y'all. Hopefully I can get back on my A game. It's a lot to cover today, and we need to be on our best behavior for this one. So here we go. We got Chelsea B saying, hey, hello, and welcome into the live stream. Nice to have you back. We got Parallel Jen saying, hi, hello, and welcome in. We got Crystal Harris saying, live in the hive. We are definitely live in the hive. Welcome back to the live stream. We got Essie saying, hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome in. We got Bruna Marches saying, hello, and welcome in. Nice to have you tonight. We got Chelsea B saying, I was upset by the verdict with the way it happened. Felt like the jury split it to go home. You think so? Wasn't the deliberation like 6 hours? I mean, that's not entirely long. But again, I haven't watched the whole trial. I have to catch up on the whole trial. But when I tell you that the prosecutor ate her up on cross-examination, like, I have to rewatch that part, and then we'll get into the rest of the trial. Like, I just don't think her attorney prepared her for the way the prosecution was coming at her. And we're talking about Ashley Benefield, that trial. So, yeah. And then I heard there's been some like crazy stuff going on with Sarah Boone. I heard Hannah Gutierrez is trying to get released. There's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of stuff going on in my own cases. So I'm like on catch-up mode on everything right now. So I'm hoping that I can actually finish that trial within the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping it probably won't be relevant to talk about on the live stream, but maybe we can have like a private stream or video chat to talk about it. But yeah, there's like a bunch of things going on. I am going to get to Logan Paul's lawsuits because Ella Swinky requested that from me like last week, and I have not got to it. So it's a bunch of cases that are on my list that I need to get to. We have kind of been in this true crime realm. Let me know if y'all like that, or if y'all want the celebrity cases back and the copyrights and the suing McDonald's. I don't think we've had a McDonald's lawsuit yet, but like the kind of fun cases, let me know. Criminal cases, they're very interesting, but they can get pretty heavy pretty quickly. So I went all the way off topic on your chat. I'm sorry about that. We got Kimmy Locker. Welcome in, saying hello, everyone. She is a member moderator, paralegal and consultant of the channel. And Kimmy, I don't know if you're on the wrong account again, but it's not showing that you're my moderator or my member. But welcome back. Nice to have you back, and nice to have you backstage. Our Laura saying, Bree in chat, giving a wave. Hello, and welcome in. We got Kimmy Locker saying, I agree with Chelsea B. I don't think the state proved their case and suspect the jury compromised so they could go home. Really? I don't know. And again, I haven't watched the whole thing, so from what I have watched on the prosecution side, they weren't getting a lot of information in my opinion, but also I only really watched day one of their testimony. Now, from what I heard in the verdict, and I have to go back and listen to the jury instructions, but it seems like all of the elements were met. So again, I have to watch the whole thing, so I'm gonna keep my comment to myself a little bit. No, I'm not. It's my channel. I can say whatever I want now. Phoenix Waller, member of the channel, hello and welcome in, saying, I mean, the verdict came in at 10 or 11 p.m. That's weird already. That is odd that it came in that late and they didn't let them go home. We got Brianna, Brianna, am I saying that right? Brenna O'Brien saying she was guilty. Yes, she was. Welcome in. We got Chelsea B saying they came in deadlocked. The judge wanted to send them home for the night. They said no and came back half an hour later. No longer deadlocked. Dang. Okay. I didn't know about that part. So I hear where you're coming from with the compromise and wanting to get out there and sending that girl to jail. I would love to hear the opinions about what y'all think. I understand the prosecution has to prove their case, but do we believe, and we're talking about Ashley Benefield, do we believe that she knew what she was going to do that day? Let me know. Let's see here. We got Kimmy Locker saying they deliberated for around 6 hours, if I remember correctly, but an hour to 90 minutes before the jury sent a note saying they couldn't reach a unanimous verdict or so. Yes. Chelsea B. Why can't I read today? You can never read. I don't know why you say that every live stream. Chelsea B says to Kimmy Locker, I fully agree. I'm so tired of cases where the state doesn't have to meet their burden. And again, we're talking about jury, we're talking about regular people, and it's their opinion. So it's hard to say whether the state, like us watching online, maybe we see more or hear more than the people in the jury. I can only imagine how bored those people on the jury box get in if they're not paying attention, which I'm not saying is right, but I can definitely see getting lost in it, or kind of already having some preconceived notions about it. I did not like Ashley's her Benefield. I did not like her behavior on the stand, and I could just be biased, but I did not like her behavior on the stand. And the jurors could have felt that as well. Oh wait, I lost my chat. Where was I at? Okay, where was I? Stargazer Kawaii says, I haven't kept up with any trials. Summer is busy and far too short. Yes, I agree with you there. Welcome back in. Kimmy Locker saying, join the Discord server. Dropping the link for those of you just coming in. We do now have a BriHive Discord, and Kimmy just dropped the link for y'all. So make sure y'all join so I can hear your opinions off the stream. And let me know how your date is going on the Discord. Make sure you say hi when you join in. Thank you, Kimmy, for grabbing that Discord link. We got Island saying, hey, y'all, member of the channel. Hello and welcome in. Nice to have you back tonight. We got Amber E saying, I agree with that because they were deadlocked shortly before their verdict. Someone might have been a little bit persuasive. Chelsea B says, the deliberations made me happy to be West Coast. It was a late one, yeah. I did see it. What was I doing? I was like, probably trying to research things for us to cover today. And then I saw like the verdict. It was like guilty of manslaughter going across the screen. And I'm like, already? Because no, I was not able to keep up with that trial. I really wasn't. Coach Karen says, wait, what? The prosecution misconduct was beyond disgusting. Really put an attorney on the stand that committed perjury, pulls a vile reenactment, closing statements regarding evidence it presented. So I have not watched closing arguments. So I might be, I'm talking about only her cross-examination. I did not see the closing arguments, and I did not see the testimony from the attorney, which when Ashley was testifying and she said something about I think her previous attorney testifying, I was like, what? How is this not attorney-client privilege? Did she waive her attorney-client privilege to allow the attorney to testify? Who called the attorney? I digress. I have to watch the trial, so I'm probably speaking about this prematurely, but it is what it is. It's my channel. Descendant B, also known as Tanya D, saying, hey, BriHive, dropping a sunflower, a member and moderator of the channel. Welcome back. Nice to have you tonight. I hope that Deadpool movie was good. I have not gone to see it, and I'm probably going to figure out how I can see it for free at some point. But welcome back, Tanya D. We got Island saying, I think she was super manipulative, but it's bothersome that there are no witnesses. She sent people away and invited him there. Yeah, that's the part that's hard. Like, you knew you were there long. You knew it's only your story. It's kind of suspicious that you had all of these failed restraining orders. We'll get into it. I'm going to make the stream too long, getting way too into it. We're going to do Sonya Massey first, and then we'll jump into that stuff. We got Brenna O'Brien saying Ashley had 3 guns loaded. She knew what she was going to do. No doubt this was not a good self-defense case. I agree with that. I live in Florida and did not think she came off credible. I don't think she came off credible. I completely agree with that. Just Me MD, member of the channel. Welcome back. Nice to have you back tonight. Saying, hi, everyone. Made it late yet buzzing in. Sending love from the East Texas. I have missed y'all. We have missed you too. Welcome back. Welcome back. Nice to have you in tonight. We got What Up saying, here we go with the biased opinion. See you later. Peace out. We got Stargazer Kawaii says, far too many cases of corrupt or bad judges, prosecutors, and police lately. It's truly unsettling. I agree. There is a lot going on. That's why I'm like, should we get back into the fun stuff, right? The fun stuff to where if you mess up as a judge, it's not really going to affect your life that much. But these cases, it does, right? It really does. Kimmy Locker says they also found her guilty of the lesser included, which I think is bogus. Prosecutors should have to be held to the charges they think they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. None at all, in my opinion. That's what I was confused about. I thought that she was on trial for second degree. But then when they found her guilty of manslaughter, I was a little bit confused, but again, y'all, I'm preferencing. I have not watched the whole trial and how we got there. What Up says, all you people on the outside looking in, sitting there trying to discredit her. I swear on everything I love. I hope you experience trauma in your life. Okay. Rawr. I don't know who that is. Chelsea B says, what up? What biased opinions? The info is all out there now. They are just opinions. LOL. It's literally YouTube commentary. Like, it's not that deep. Diane D says, I'll just stay out of this combo because regardless of how she so-called acted on the stand, I grew up with someone like that, including pew-pews going off in the house. So, okay, got it. Kimmy Locker says, Coach Karen was saying the prosecutor's closing statement included evidence not presented during trial. Oh, okay, yeah. I haven't gotten into the closing yet, and I also need to watch the trial to know if that happens. But I do want to hear how they tie the story together, so I will honestly probably watch closing before I watch the rest of the trial, just because I don't have a lot of time. Hyland says, so what up? I thought you were leaving. Hyland. Come on, it's too early in the series. I thought you was leaving. Our Laura says Miss Massey earlier in day call is out. The earlier in the day call is out. Yeah, I have them pulled up. I haven't listened to those ones all the way. We are going to be covering Sonya Massey first, y'all. Tanya D says, plus I'm working on a large shirt order. I'm listening though. No problem. Happy to have you here. What Up said, only thing I'm here is about her behavior on the witness stand. I'm still not seeing one solid piece of evidence that the son of a B didn't cause his own demise. I mean, everyone's here is entitled to their opinion, okay? But certain things, we'll talk about it when we get to that case. Chelsea B says, I believe Doug was abusive. I don't know if she planned anything that day, but the state didn't prove it to me. Yeah. I just think Ashley's story doesn't make sense. Like, definitely understand battered wife syndrome, right? I watched what was that movie that Tyler Perry just came out with that was something in the black, dating in the black, I forgot, where the husband was like abusive throughout the relationship and she set it up. And this is a movie. I don't think it's based on a true story, but it's a movie. She set it up to where she was filing restraining orders and then she was justified in shooting him because he was like actually threatening her. But Ashley Benefield's story of he was threatening her by standing in the corner, moving his arms around, or standing at the doorway, moving his arms around. I don't know if that's justification. We'll get into it when we get to the case, but I definitely understand what you guys are saying about the prosecution not proving the case. Oh, sorry about that. To Kimmy in the back channel. Brenna, and I don't really have an opinion over whether Doug was abusive or not because I haven't listened enough to have an opinion on that. Brenna says, please hit the like button. Attorney Bree is a rock star. Thank you very much. Yes, of course. And guys, we have a 75 like live goal. So if you are here and you haven't hit the like button yet, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm, get more friends. And it's just great over here. So thank you for that reminder. Tanya D says, that's where I'm at with time, or with which one? You were referring to Chelsea B. Oh, that you believe he was abusive and don't know if she planned anything. Okay. Island says, based on what I saw, they both seem kind of terrible. They were both trying to use each other. Total dysfunction from both of them. And I do think that it was a lot going on, right? It was a lot going on. The bad part of we only get to hear her story. We hear the people looking in and what was going on in custody battle and this and that, but we only hear Ashley's story of what was happening in the house. We don't get to hear Doug's story of how he ended up unalived. And honestly, I would have to say most unalivings to me are not justified. Unless you're sitting there and someone got a gun at you and you got a gun at them and you pull first, that's when you get a little bit more on the justified side. You're talking about one person with a gun and one person without a gun. To me, it's hard to justify shooting someone, even if they smacked you last year or smacked you 5 minutes ago. You kind of lose that heat of passion when you turn around, run, and go get a gun, and then, draw it on them at that point. So I definitely get that she said she was trying to get out of the house. Like, was there not a back door because she tried to go out the front? I don't know. I'm gonna keep it to myself. And like the neighbor story, that one, that it really got me. We'll get into it. Let me not get too deep into this. We got Crystal Harrison. I guess quietly leaving is a lost art nowadays. Shaking my head, right? Chelsea B says to Tanya D, there was just such a pattern of all the things people were saying that strongly made me believe he was abusive. I think when you've seen / lived through people like that, you see signs. And again, y'all, I have not seen all the testimony. I only saw day one, and the only character witnesses that testified on his behalf was his daughter and his cousin. So they were only saying good things, okay? They were only saying good things about him. I have not heard the testimony from anybody else other than the cops, okay? Just Me MD says Divorce in the Black. That's what it's called. Divorce in the Black, that movie, where there are situations where you are a battered wife and it makes more sense to justify the killing, right? In this one, I don't see the justification to claim self-defense, and not saying he needed to, actively beat her, but someone cursing you out is a lot different than someone, beating you up. And she said on the stand that was the first time he had hit her. And so basically she thought it was going to escalate to unaliving pretty much immediately. And again, I don't know all the details that everyone else testified to, but to me, that was a bit of a stretch. Her story is a bit of a stretch to me, okay? Amber E says, I agree with Chelsea B. Tanya D is said exactly to Chelsea B. And then Stargazer Kawaii says, essay? I don't know. My thing is freezing. Island says, sharing a U-Haul and withholding his child just doesn't add up. It was a weird story. Like, you're moving to Maryland together, but not together and together. And it was weird. It was weird. Okay. Stargazer Kawaii says, Sarah Boone shows that a woman can be in an abusive relationship, her supposedly mutually abusive, and not have battered wife syndrome and unalive for revenge. That is something too. I'm not all the way deep into her case yet, so I'm going to keep my comments on that one to myself. Kimmy Locker says, the text from Doug's late wife about how he kicked her on the honeymoon and was otherwise abusive was very telling. Now, I don't know how that got in. I do not know how that got in. I don't know why the prosecution, I understand that the person is not alive, but she's not the one in the case. So I don't know how that got in past hearsay. Tiny D says, I think that's why they said manslaughter. She didn't intend to end him, but to stop him. Yeah. Well, but she wasn't being charged with intentional homicide. She was being charged with second-degree murder. I don't know what the elements are those. I think you have to be like in a heat of passion. What she is convicted of is using a firearm and basically aiming it at somebody, which, I mean, it's still a very serious crime. She faces up to 30 years because she used a gun in the commission of the crime, right? So I'm thinking the second degree was probably like heat of passion. I honestly don't think that she had the heat of passion. But I would think heat of passion would save you a little bit more. I don't know. I need to look into their different levels, right? Stargazer Kawaii says, essay comment was on accident, no problem. Kimmy Lockett says, that got in because there's evidentiary exceptions in cases like this because it shows that Ashley knew at the time. Present state of mind is what you're saying was the exception? I guess. Kimmy Locker says there's an exception in that jurisdiction at least. There's a present state of mind exception. So that makes sense. She just didn't object at all. So I didn't know what the grounds were of them letting that in. So, but it makes sense, but still, I probably would have objected to it. Like, no. And it's almost like propensity evidence. He did it before to this person, so he will do it to me too. And again, she testified herself that he had never hit her to that point, and him hitting her did not turn into him unaliving her. So again, I probably would have objected on relevance as well, and propensity evidence and a bunch of other stuff. But either way it goes, it got in, and I'm not on the case. Zello Spose says, I didn't watch the full trial. I guess my questions are, one, why was a loaded gun in a box and she went straight to it? We'll see what the rest of the question is. I don't know. It just doesn't add up to me. It seems like an overreaction, in my opinion. But again, like you said, if Doug, like a couple people in the chat has said, if Doug was abusive to the extent that she's claiming he was, maybe she felt justified in it. But I just don't think it was in that moment. I don't think that was self-defense. That's just my opinion. Bruno Marches says, I hope I'm saying your name right. Bruno Marches says, I didn't see all of the trial, but I keep thinking that if she had the time to go grab the gun, she had time to think in at least a less lethal way of stopping him, just if I believe she's a DV victim. Also, you were at the door trying to get out, and then you ran into a room with no way out, specifically to grab the gun. It would have been different if she was in the room and he was on top of her and she grabbed a gun, right? But she literally went from the front of the house to the back of the house where there was no other exit, grabbed a gun and, said he was blocking the door. And you knew he was following you around, so you knew he would be blocking the... I don't know. It does not make sense. The story just doesn't make sense to me. If you had time to run in the back of the house to get the gun, why didn't you run out of another door? And then also she said he stopped her from leaving out of the front door. He was able to catch her that fast this time, but apparently this time he was, the second time, apparently he was walking like he was Freddy Krueger or somebody and didn't get there until she had time to grab the gun, turn around and point it at him. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Second question from Zillow says, if they only knew each other for 13 days before married and he was abusive right after, why didn't she leave? If she felt it was abusive that fast, why not leave? It does seem like she did try to leave. The other question was, why did you try to get pregnant? That part was, a little off to me, but, to each their own. But she did go and move with her mother for some time. Kimmy Locker says, it's not uncommon for gun owners to keep their guns loaded. Also, she testified that there was a few months of a honeymoon period. It didn't immediately turn abusive. It was a couple of months, right? And so she did try to go live with her mom and file restraining orders and all of those things. Bruna says, is a good pronunciation. Oh, thanks. Zello says, I can understand if it was slowly over a long period of time. I could understand, but I just don't quite get it. But maybe she had past trauma experiences. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's missing a couple of pages in the book, in my opinion. Chelsea B says, my best friend almost lost her life to DV when we were younger for something none of us knew was happening. I guess I see wanting to protecting yourself gets there. Yeah, and I definitely get it, but she was the one that lived through it, and I don't think that her incidences quite go to the level of unaliving somebody. Maybe stabbing them and not unaliving them, maybe shooting them in the finger, maybe, but to the extent of unaliving someone, I just don't think it rises to that level. I don't know. And maybe it can, and I would have to say I've never been in that situation before, so maybe yelling and arguing and what he did could potentially escalate to that point, but to me, it just didn't make it there for me. Kimmy Locker says, once she moved in with her mother, she stayed with her mother and they never lived together again. But she also tried to rekindle. That was weird. And why did she get pregnant? We'll get into it. We'll get y'all getting me too deep into Ashley Benefield. We still have to cover Sonya Massey. Solo says to Kimmy Locker, I could understand keeping it loaded if you're at home, but you're moving. Why is the gun loaded then and in a box for moving? And it wasn't the only gun. It was multiple guns throughout the house. If he would have led her to the kitchen, then she would have shot him in the kitchen. It was almost like a setup, but I'm keeping my opinions. Island says, if you try to see from his perspective, she left as soon as she was pregnant, tried to terminate rights, wouldn't let him see the baby, but strung him along. And I can definitely see his position in for the restraining order, they just did a mutual stay away order. I do those in my practice. A lot of times when those come up, it's because you can't actually prove your case. And you're like, okay, fine. Well, if he just agrees to stay away from me, I'll agree to stay away from him. And also when it's a mutual stay away order, you are probably a problem, a nuisance to him as well. Otherwise, he would just agree to stay away from you. But yeah, let's go on. Brenna says, where is the pepper spray instead of multiple loaded guns? Then run if this was not planned. It was too many loaded guns. And I get being a gun owner. It's tough. Kimmy says the Zello Spoo. I don't think it was in a moving box. It was in a gum box / case. And I would understand packing that last rather than putting it in a U-Haul. It was in some type of Tupperware box. So she does talk about that. Prosecution does go into that. It was not in a proper gun box. Chelsea, because the prosecutor's like, why would it be in there? It was like in a moving bin or something. Chelsea B says it was said in trial that Doug was carrying all the time. She would have knew that. Yes, but she did not say that Doug went in his pocket and then she shot him. She said Doug was doing this. I don't know. That's not the same thing. Like, he could have been carrying, and could have is not the same as he is. It's the same situation, and y'all about to make me mad. It's the same situation when cops go, oop, I thought I saw a gun, and then they shoot someone that had a cell phone or a hairbrush in their hand, and it happens to the black people. Oh, it's only the black people with a hairbrush in their hand that get shot for accidentally thinking that they had a gun, right? So could have had a gun and having a gun is a complete different situation. So I don't even want to go down that. That got me heated real quick. I don't even want to go down that path. So Island says to Chelsea B, then why invite him and send everyone else away? Why share a U-Haul? Exactly. It does not seem like you're afraid. Tiny D says, just talk about this case since you're already on the topic. That's why I'm like, do y'all not want to cover the Sonya Massey? Because that's quite a bit of content, and this is quite a bit of content, and we can go into it. Zello says to Kimmy Locker, then maybe just misheard / misunderstood. Kiss Chelsea B says to Island, if I knew someone was abusive, I'd send my kid away if I knew he was coming over too. But the kid was there earlier in the day. They were all moving together. It would have been different if he popped up and he wasn't invited there. She invited him there. So it's weird. And then also she was spending all the custody time with him as well. So Kimmy Lockett says to help with carrying / loading heavy furniture and not have a toddler running around while trying to get stuff done. Also, he drove the U-Haul so she and her mother could drive their own cars. Again, if you are afraid of him, why not have a different friend do it? Because didn't she have like a different fiance or was dating someone else? I don't know. That does not make sense to me. It does not seem like they were in an abusive relationship at that point. Maybe in the past, but not at that point. Island says to John Smith, what's hard to do? Amber E says things aren't always bad 100% in DV relationships. Sees the power and control. Well, nope, definitely agree with you on that. I deal with these kind of cases. I just don't think it would justify. Not in this situation, maybe in a different situation, but thinking someone's going to do something and them actually getting ready to do it is two completely different things. Island says to Chelsea B, I wouldn't be alone with him or share a moving truck. There are things called like moving companies as well. And I thought he had a decent amount of money, so she could have asked him for money. Tiny D says, no, the prosecutor waved her hands like that. I know what Ashley meant. Again, watch the case, Bree. No, I watched her do it. She said he was in a fighting stance, and she did a similar motion. We are going to watch it. We are going to watch it. Because even when I read it in the other documents, what was that? The her motion trying to get the self-defense claim to have the case dismissed. Same thing. She described it as he was moving his arms around. He got in a fighting stance and he was moving his arms around at the door. That is way different. She didn't say he was coming at her. She didn't say he was approaching her. She said he got in a fighting stance and was standing at the door doing this little waving motion or moving his arms around, whatever that means. John Smith said, oh, you don't want me to read yours. Just me MD says, that's what I'm wondering is, we might have to just change to this case because I'm too deep in at this point. Just me MD says, that's what I'm wondering is that she knew he was coming over, have abusive tendencies, and had the guns throughout the home just in case. Our Laura says, who cares about spoilers these days? Right. Chelsea B says, the Island, I think when someone holds a certain power over you, especially a child, you do things you wouldn't normally do. I wouldn't be moving with him. Island says to John Smith, Yeah, you need help for exchanges. Kimmy Locker says, I don't think he was waving his hands around like you're doing. He had martial arts training. His daughter has a black belt, so it would have been like that. Again, at a distance, I don't think that we could have the same, the way that some of y'all, I'm not trying to come at nobody, but the way that some of y'all are describing it is like you're justifying it for Ashley Benefield, but Sean Grayson does the same thing. Sonya with a pot and what's his name in a distance enough to where it was not a close range firing, doing these martial arts stances, and he didn't touch her, right? He didn't say he was going to touch her. He said he's going to F and end her. Again, she's the only one there. So we can only go off of what she said. And when you put all the evidence together and their communications through that day, inviting him over multiple times, I don't think that the kid was gone that time earlier in the day. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Kimmy Lockett says, no, he arrived that day when her mother and daughter were leaving the park. But he was there earlier that day. They cover that in the case. He was coming back. She testifies. He was there, he left, and he came back. I watched that part. I know that much. Island says, I think he was broke after the failed ballet company. Oh, dang, he didn't have no money. Chelsea B says, I actually think her spending the custody time with him was what made me fully believe he was abusive. I'm a mom and I wouldn't let my kid go either by herself if I didn't have to. That's not how it works, though. If you think that the father is abusive, you don't then go and start a relationship with them so that you can watch what he's doing. You hire a professional supervised visitation person. If the court doesn't think that's necessary, it's not up to you to take it upon yourself to then supervise him. Kimmy Lockett says she said that she was shot. She said that she shot him when he lunged at her. Okay. Alan says, what bothers me is that she's innocent until proven otherwise, but I don't want that to be a free pass to claim you were afraid and shoot someone without witnesses. Exactly. Tiny D says the room wasn't that big from what it looked, the looks of it. She said he lunged at her again. People are saying that Sonya Massey also threw the pot. So are we also saying that the cop was justified in shooting Sonya Massey? I don't think so. I wouldn't say that. So Kimmy Lockett says, a woman with a pot of water, an easy way to escape, is not the same as a large man with martial arts training blocking your exit. But I don't think it was proved that he was a large man. They said, what, 5'9" and 170, 180? I don't know. I don't agree. I really don't agree. Anyways, let me go ahead and jump into my cases. What case did I want to jump into? I'm going to jump into Sonya Massey. Let's go ahead and see. All right, so we are into Sonya Massey. We have, which one is this? I guess I did find another article. Sonya Massey, if you guys don't know what case this is where the cop, Sean Grayson, went to help Sonya Massey. Sonya Massey was having a mental crisis, and instead of helping her, Sean Grayson unalived her when he thought that she was going to rebuke him in the name of Jesus by throwing hot water on him, which we don't really know if the water was actually hot or not. Okay. So a lot of talk started coming out about how Sean Grayson had gone through like 6 employments within 4 years, and that he was fired from different police departments, and that he got kicked out of kicked out of the army as well. He got kicked out of the army because of the DUI. He got fired. And then a audio was released of the reason why Sean Grayson was fired from his job proceeding the county that he works for. I forgot what it's called that fast, but he was working for Logan County right before he started at this county where that led to him unaliving Sonya Massey. So let's go ahead and jump into, I think this is the article. I'm going to jump into the summary of kind of what his career has been like. And then we'll listen to the audio, and then we'll jump into the 911 calls for Sonya Massey, and then we will go from there. So let's go ahead and, what was I going to do? Oh, share my screen. There we go. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. And I think this is the wrong. Yeah, that's the wrong screen, Bree. Stop sharing. Let me share it again. Figure it out, Bree. Figure it out. Okay, I need to go to this one. Okay, there we go. Now we add it to the stage. There we are. There we are. So let's kind of go over the summary. Sean Grayson, officer who shot Sonya Massey, also violated order to stop a high-speed chase in an earlier job. And not only that, but he had a bunch of other things going on that kind of showed that he would not be a good cop. So it starts off, this is a CBS article saying questions have been swirling about why now fired Sangamon County, Illinois Sheriff Deputy Sean Grayson, now charged with murder in the shooting that killed Sonya Massey earlier this month, was hired by law enforcement agencies multiple times. One of the incidents in which Grayson is accused of having trouble obeying orders happened during his fifth police job with the Logan County Sheriff's Office, where he worked from May 2022 to April 2023. So he worked just under a year at this particular law enforcement. And remember, he went through 6 jobs in 4 years. So this was one of his longer stretches, okay? Grayson refused an order by a superior to terminate a high-speed chase in Illinois 121 over a traffic infraction in which his speed at times reached 110 miles per hour. Grayson told his superiors he was about to terminate the pursuit, but he did not stop. He did, however, turn his lights and sirens off while keep going anyway until he hit a deer. No. Y'all, I skimmed this article. I didn't read it fully. I skimmed the article. So just like with Sonya Massey, and he didn't turn on the camera until after he did some nonsense, he turned off his sirens and lights so that he's speeding through did it say what time it was? He's speeding through the road. If it's nighttime, people can't see him. And then he ends up hitting a deer. Come on, dude. Come on. And he still was able to get hired at another, in another county. Wow. Grayson was questioned by a chief and other top staff. Grayson was questioned by a chief and other top staff after the crash in Logan County, where Lincoln, Illinois is the county seat. He later admitted to violating a direct order from a supervisor about the termination. Grayson was also asked by the cop staff if he agreed that there was a mountain of public policy violations in place against him. When asked how he was still employed by Logan County Sheriff Office after 7 months, Grayson said he did not know because it sounds like he was just getting in trouble over and over again. Yet he continued to get a pass over and over again. Look, they said exactly what I said. Continued to get a pass over and over again. Even before Grayson was hired by Logan County, there were warnings from another past employer, the Auburn Police Department, where Grayson worked in 2022. So shortly before he started working for the Logan County. CBS News obtained notes from the Auburn Police Chief to a representative in Logan County. CBS News obtained notes from the Auburn Police Chief to a representative in Logan County about Grayson's prospective employment there. The note states Grayson struggles with report writing. Grayson was very aggressive with getting drugs. Getting what drugs? Like drugs off the streets or just like drugs for his own use? The chief expressed concern that Grayson was too aggressive and that Grayson posted his drug arrest on Facebook. Okay, so his arrest. And the chief called him a bragger and he was not great with evidence, left items laying around the office. He sounds like a horrible pick. And he was still hired. Despite that reference, Grayson's discharge for misconduct during his military service, his past 2 DUI convictions, and other disciplinary actions or incidents in his 6 law enforcement jobs. Grayson still got jobs in Logan and then Sangamon County, where he was entrusted to help residents in need like Massey. The whole thing makes me sick, says Sangamon County Board Commissioner Mark Ayers, who sits on the jail committee that authorized the hiring. Uh-oh, I lost it. Okay. I lost my spot, so. Okay. Ayers said he was never informed of any negative notes about Grayson prior to hire, and his background was not shared with the committee. He said his committee only approves salaries and does not review their backgrounds. I would never bring someone who's that trouble past. I would never bring on someone who that trouble past or record ever, Ayers said. That was hard to get through. Ayers said he wants a review of all current Sangamon County deputies to ensure no red flags were missed in their backgrounds. Early on the morning of Saturday, July 6th, Grayson and another Sangamon County deputy responded to Massey's house near Springfield, where she was home and concerned about a possible prowler. I think we are good on that. That's just kind of giving a summary of what happened. So we are going to go ahead and jump into the audio recording from his firing from Logan County. So right before he started this job here in Sangamon County, and see what his demeanor is, what's happening there. It is kind of chopped because someone has already edited it. So we are going to go ahead and listen to the edited version of him basically getting fired. So let me know if y'all can hear it. Here we go. Uh-oh, I don't want to go to Instagram. I want you to play it right here. No, I don't want to go to Instagram. It played earlier. Let me refresh it. I cannot get my life together today. Okay, let's see. It might take me to Instagram, but
7 months on.
There we go.
How are you still employed by us?
I don't know.
Sean, do you understand what I am saying?
Yes, I do, sir.
And I've had this conversation with you before. If we can't trust what you say and what you see, we can't have you in our uniform. I'm calling you on your integrity. How does that make you feel?
I'm learning from it.
Are you angry with me for it?
No, I don't.
Do you understand it?
Yes. I don't get angry with this because, one, I have no experience. Before I came here, I had no experience. Two, I wasn't allowed to do this right here. I was not allowed to review my videos.
This is termination. I'm getting goosebumps. This is extremely concerning. Everybody likes you. I got to be able to trust you. Was this a purposefully done lie?
No. I full-heartedly, I still believed I was on North Madison until you just pulled up Google Maps and showed me in the daytime.
This is going to get deeper because you're going to have a hard time answering some questions here real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so he did this high-speed chase, and I think that's what this was the conversation resulting in him getting fired. He doesn't listen. They can't trust his judgment on what he sees. Okay, that sounds very familiar to the Sonya Massey. He told everybody, or he told dispatch, that it was a self-inflicted wound. He left out information, right? Tried to hide that, tried to cover it. She came after him. All kinds of things, right? I was going to get hot water to the face. He didn't. And so it sounds like this was a pattern for him. And it's sad because there are a lot of police officers or people in these positions of power that get these positions of power and then they abuse them. And it's like, are we hiring these people, or are they hiring these people because they seem tough? Or do they know what this person is about? Because if he knew what he was about, he should have never been hired, and he should have never been the one responding to the call at Sonya Massey's house. So there is that. We're going to go ahead and jump into, I'm just going to jump. Do I want to jump? Yes. I'm going to jump right into no. Figure out what you want to do, Bree. I'm going to jump into the comments, see what y'all have to say, and then we're going to get into the summary of what was leading up to the 911 calls, and then we'll get into the 911 calls, and then we'll get into the cross-examination of Ashley Benefield. So let's do that, Bossy B. Bring us in, girl. Okay. So we have comments. If you have comments on this particular section of the live stream, make sure you go ahead and you drop your comments in the chat box. Okay. And if you're watching on the replay, go ahead and drop it in the comment section. Okay. We got Chelsea B saying, I think these two cases are apples and oranges, though. It is opinions. Kimmy Locker says she agrees. Let me see. I want to get to the actual things, what we're covering. Let's see. Okay, so we got Amber E says, I think Sonya's case was outrageous, especially considering his past. Yes, his past, outrageous, completely out of control. We got Stargazer Kawaii said, it's a great failure that a police officer like him was kept in law enforcement. There needs to be more regulations in place to prevent this. Same for doctors and hospital staff. Yeah, I was just watching like a documentary on like hospitals and pharmaceutical companies. They kind of have the same system where if they voluntarily resign, it's something that you don't have to report. And it's not like a negative mark on you if they resign. They're messing up in the medical field, but they just voluntarily resign. They can just go and get another job, which is completely ridiculous. And that's what it seems like the culture is in the police departments as well. We got Zello Spoo saying, frankly, I think if you're fired from a police department or dishonorable discharge, there should be serious questions at the next law place about why you got released, and you shouldn't be able to, or you not get a bad reference in those cases. Yes, and it seems like they just don't tell them what's bad. But in this case, they did. Auburn did tell Logan County that it was bad. He does not do proper work, but maybe they thought it was like a scorned ex-boss or something like that. I don't know where they get to that. Kimmy Locker says, right to Zella Spoon. How can a chief express concern about a cop being too aggressive and having issues with evidence, and that cop just continues doing what he's doing and just moves on to a completely different department, right? And they just allow it. Chelsea B says, I rewatched the video of the interaction of all the cops post-shooting, and it was wow that none of those cops would acknowledge him. They knew. Oh, yeah. They were almost like, we knew this was going to come. And I know when we first covered the case, it looked like the guy that responded with him was his partner. I thought they came in the same car, but they actually came in different cars. So if anyone's in law enforcement and knows how these things work, or do you always just respond to the same location with the same person? Or were they probably the first ones there because they were the closest? I would like to know that. Like, do they normally have to work with each other all the time? Because they both had different vehicles. Just Me MD says the civil rights lawyer on YouTube did frame by frame of this case with the water and the pot was on the counter even after he pulled the gun on her and she said, I'm sorry. Yes, no, I definitely agree with that. The pot was on the counter at the point when she said, I'm sorry, and she put her hands up. She did not have the pot in her hands. But we did watch it on slow-mo on here. She does at some point grab the pot, whether it was to defend herself or whether it was to throw it. She grabbed the pot at some point and the pot was on the floor by the time the other officer went to help her. Now, even if she did throw the pot, that does not justify shooting. There are not a lot of situations where I would justify shooting somebody. Like it just doesn't apply to me. Because there's so many ways that you can de-escalate situations, right? Let's see here. Chelsea B says, if the chief's going to be fired for failing to properly monitor his officers too, this loser is clearly a repeat offender. And like I said, like you said earlier, the way that the other cops are looking at him and not interacting with him, they knew. And I would not be surprised if people already reported him. Just Me MD says she was squatting both hands, still trying to cover her face. And and then she has the pot and he's shot. Yeah. So basically, as soon as she grabbed him, as soon as he got her within frame to where he could shoot, He's shot. And his responses afterwards, it's almost like he thought he was in a video game. Like, oh, that's a headshot. You know, it's like, let me do target practice on this woman and I can make excuses because of her mental health. I can say that she did something to me. Let me put her in a situation to where now I can feel afraid, right? It's unreal. Like even chasing a suspect for a traffic infraction. When I think traffic infraction, I think maybe like your license plate little tag is expired, or maybe you didn't stop at a stop sign all the way, but you're chasing someone. Mind you, why is the person running at 100 miles per hour? I don't know, but you're chasing someone for 100 miles at 100 miles per hour for a traffic infraction. A traffic infraction. And then you turn your lights off. Complete misconduct. Let's see here. We got Stargazer Kawaii says, why would any police department not have automatic background checks? The police should have their own network for police backgrounds. We have the technology. I think what it is that it's a culture that they protect their own. Like it's bad. I think it's a culture where they protect their own. That's where we get all of these cases of cops actually needing to be charged because they're just allowed, from what I've seen, just allowed to resign and then go on to the next place. And a lot of times the supervisors don't report it, or maybe they don't know where they're applying to. I don't know. Tanya D saying, make sure y'all hit that like button. Yes, of course. Thank you for the reminder. Let's check where we are. We're at 36 likes. Our like goal for the live stream is 75 likes. Did I make it too high? If you haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help out the channel and helps us get more friends. Tanya D says he feels dead inside. Yeah, it's just like matter of factly, like it's bad. Kimmy Locker says, shame on the police departments that allowed this to happen, for sure. And I think that's why they're under a lot of heat. Kimmy Locker says, shame on the whole system. What a disgrace. I agree. Our Laura says, I believe she quickly shoved/tossed the pot because the boiling water was scalding her while she was crouched down. Maybe that could be a reason why. I never heard that interpretation. Just Me MD says, Chelsea B, I noticed their behavior towards him as well and thought that was odd. I think no one liked him. Like in that recording where it says everyone likes you, I don't think that was the same thing at the Sangamon County office. Chelsea B says, it's crazy that if you have financial crimes, good luck ever working with money again, but people can be so reckless with life and just keep pulling a job. And it's crazy. And maybe it's because a lot of people don't want to do the job. It's hard to get people to apply. Maybe that could be a reason. Chelsea B says, do you think he assumed the other guy's camera was off? Oh, yes. He did not know the other guy's camera was on. I guarantee you he was not paying attention. He, like, when he heard his partner say, oh, I'm on, he was like, why? Like, essentially, that's what it seemed like. His reaction was like, dang, I'm caught. And honestly, I don't think he realized he turned his camera on right in time for it to catch the actual shooting. So... and someone told us last stream that it records like 30 seconds before it's turned on, but you're not going to get like the audio and stuff. It'll save that 30 seconds before pressing the record button. Kimmy Locker says to Chelsea B, probably, thank goodness he was there with it on though. Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, they should have never went in the house. And the second cop seemed like he was about to leave. He was about to walk away. And then homeboy wanted to ask more. He asked the question they had already asked and answered. Okay. He was looking for a way in, and then amazingly, he's walking in the house when the partner is actually checking on what he's asking about. Just Me MD says, and her rebuke was not in a threatening tone. It was casual and calm. It was almost like a joke. Alyssa Brown Carlton says, a little behind, my ex was discharged from the Navy, not dishonorably, and he had a hard time getting a job that had nothing to do with law enforcement, just a regular job. Regular jobs are more strict than the police department, or like things where people are in charge of people's lives, which is ridiculous, right? Kimmy Walker says he referred to the other cop as, someone said he was referring to Sonya as that. I don't know. I didn't really listen to the context of him saying that. So clearly there was some sort of issue at that department. Yeah. And I think he was the issue. And I think they knew he was going to do something that was going to mess things up. And I would like to know if he was already under investigation. I honestly think the second cop is probably the one that told the department to do an investigation because he was there. And we saw his reaction after the shooting. Like, he was shaking. He was like, what the hell just happened? And it could have been for fear of he's going to get in trouble himself, or it could have been just like, you know, what the heck was Sean doing? I knew he was not a good person, or whatever it could be, right? Feeling guilty, right? So I don't know why his reaction was what it was, but he did not seem like he was in on this. Chelsea B says to Kimmy Locker, I forgot about that. Further proof this guy is an a-hole. Yeah, it is. It is. Let's go ahead and jump into what's the other thing that we're doing? We're jumping into the summary of what was kind of leading up to the phone calls, and then we're going to listen to the 911 calls. So let's have Bossy B bring us in. Where you at, girl? I gotta get my little life together here. I'm having a hard time with making sure the screens are showing properly. So let's go here. Let's go here. And let's go here. Okay. So we are ready. We are ready now. Okay. So let's get into this. I'm going to read the summary and then we're going to jump into it. 911 calls before Sonya Massey shooting include one from her mother asking officers not to hurt her. Is this this is the article I want. Okay. So the freaking ads on here are ridiculous. Anyways, 2 emergency response calls were made from the home of Sonya Massey, the Black woman who was unalived by Sean Grayson, after she called for 911 help in the days leading up to her unaliving, according to records released Wednesday. On a third call, Massey's mother, Donna Massey, reports that her daughter is suffering a mental breakdown and tells the dispatcher, I don't want you guys to hurt her. She adds that she fears the police and asks that no officer who is prejudiced be sent. In the other calls, a woman calling from Sonya Massey's address who doesn't identify herself says people want to hurt her. And a day later, a woman identifying herself as Sonya Massey reports a neighbor had hit her with a brick. That makes sense about the window being broken, right? Sangamon County Sheriff Department is still trying to determine whether Massey's history of mental health issues was relayed to deputies responding to the call about a suspected prowler, which ended in her death on July 6th. Former Sheriff Deputy Sean Grayson, who is white, thank you for letting us know that he was white. He's charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct in the shooting death of Sonya Massey. In her home, he pleaded not guilty and is being held without bond. And can y'all believe he asked to be released because he needed to get married to his fiance? Sir, you are not getting much. You might still marry him, but you do not get that luxury. Let's see here. Sorry. On Wednesday, Sheriff Jack Campbell released Grayson's personnel file in response to public records requests, with records leading up to his May 1st, 2023 hire to his dismissal on July 17th, the day he was indicted. It confirms what was previously known, that Campbell was aware of Grayson's 2 drunk driving convictions within a year. The first of which led to his premature discharge from the Army. Campbell said DUIs do not disqualify a candidate, and that Grayson's rapid succession of jobs 5 and 4 years before joining the Sangamon Department showed admirable ambition to advance to a larger and more structured department. So they're making an excuse. He was moving jobs fast because he wanted to move up the ranks faster. And y'all don't think y'all should have slowed him down? Okay. The sheriff said he knew of no previous discipline problems. References indicated Grayson needed more training are common for young recruits, and Grayson subsequently attended 16 weeks of academy training, Campbell said. Grayson, March 31, 2023 psychological evaluation found him to be fit to serve, but noted he knows he can move too fast at times. He needs to slow down and make good decisions. Body camera video shows that after checking yards around the home just before 1 a.m. July 6th, Massey greeted the deputies at the front door with "Don't hurt me," appeared confused, and repeated "please God" inside her home on the southeast side of Springfield. She had trouble finding her ID and asked for her Bible. We pointed that out when we watched it. Grayson asked her to move the pot. Let's get back into the personnel file stuff. The personnel file includes the results of the internal investigation that led to Grayson's dismissal, indicated that he violated rules on use of force and standards of conduct, failed to turn on his body camera or to provide medical aid, in insubordination for refusing to answer questions during the investigation interview, even after the superior ordered him to do so. So even after he unalived her, he was not cooperating. Grayson immediately escalated to deadly force based on the decedent stating, I will rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Chief Deputy Anthony Mayfield wrote, when Deputy Grayson pointed his firearm at the decedent, she was not making any aggressive movements, only talking. Grayson's failure to attempt nonviolent strategies and techniques or to communicate led to Massey's death, Mayfield said. Family members have said Massey struggled with mental health issues and had undergone treatment. Her son, Malachi Hill Massey, said last week that his mother sent him and his sister to live with his father the first week of July because she had checked herself into a 30-day inpatient treatment program that then returned 2 days later. Shortly before 9:30 on July 4th, a 911 caller from Massey's address said, somebody's trying to hurt me. When the dispatcher asked who, she said, a lot of them. Pressed for more information, she said, never mind, this must not be the right number, and disconnected. When called back, she said she no longer needed police. Will Height said officials do not know if it was Massey who called. The next morning, just after 9 a.m., Donna Massey called saying her daughter was outside the house and yelling. She said Sonya Massey is not a danger to anyone, but when she gets upset, she thinks everybody is after her, like paranoid schizophrenic. She told the dispatcher she fears the police and didn't want her daughter to be hurt. Please don't send no combative policemen that are prejudiced, Donna Massey says. Springfield police, who took the call, reported that Massey did not want to talk to medical professionals, but was checked by emergency medical technicians who cleared her. Sonya Massey called a few hours later to report a neighbor had hit her with a brick. A sheriff's deputy caught up to her at a hospital where the dispatch record says she went to seek treatment for her mental state. She told the officer the neighbor used a brick to break her SUV's window, that she herself broke another in an attempt to get into the car and get away. The deputy noted Massey appeared to be having mental health problems and was seeking treatment for scrapes she sustained reaching through the broken glass. She told the officer she had recently been released from a mental health facility and claimed that earlier that day she was out with police who attempted to run her off the road. The officer said Massey also had paperwork from July 3rd interaction with a mental health mobile crisis unit from another Springfield hospital. 12 hours later, when Grayson and the second deputy responded to the July 6th call and were searching her yard, body camera video indicates they noticed the broken windows on the SUV and asked Massey if it's hers, which she denies. Okay, and that's it on that article. So she had been calling them, trying to get help, then turning down the help, and then getting help on some occasions. And then finally is when Sean Grayson and his partner comes and it ends in tragedy. I'm wondering if the dispatch did not tell them that they had already been, receiving calls from this location and to be, extra sensitive because she is going through mental health crisis. And like, it didn't seem like Grayson knew about it, because at the end of his video, he asked, did she have any mental health issues? And they confirmed, or I don't know if they ever confirmed that she did, but it seemed like he got confirmation that she had some mental health issues. So I don't know what we do with that information, but it seems like the dispatcher, someone should have informed them that she was having these mental health issues and to be extra sensitive with her, or send more experienced officers who could deal with the mental health crisis better than Grayson and his partner were able to. So let's go ahead and jump into the audio recording if I can get my screen shared properly. So boom, and then we're going to share this. and then we're going to add it to the screen, Bree. And again, I have only listened to some of this, so this is going to be a live reaction. I am going to speed it up a little bit so that we're not just sitting here, because it does go a little bit slow in the beginning. So here we go. Bree, get it on the stage.
911, what's the address of your emergency? Hello, 911.
And so in this one, they don't really say anything. So this is July 4th at 9:30.
Hello, 911.
I'm cool.
Hello, 911. Hello.
And now we're shifting to July 5th with her mom.
Okay, what's going on there?
Well, my daughter is being sporadic, and she's been mentally having a mental breakdown, which is something new to me. She's not a danger to herself. She's not a danger to me. But when she gets upset, then she thinks everybody's after her. Like paranoid schizophrenic. She thinks everybody's after her.
Okay, how old is she?
Yeah. She's 35.
What's her name?
Sonya Massey.
Sonya, you said?
I'm just answering the question. Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry. Hello. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Her name is Sonya?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and what's your name?
Donna.
Donna, what's your phone number there?
She's out in the front of the house talking so loud that you can probably hear her to the end of the block.
Okay.
She had a car keys in her hand, but they told me, the mental people told me to call 911 because she could get in her car and kill herself or somebody, but she has ran a couple of red lights when she went. And so she's being sporadic, and I don't want you guys to hurt her, please.
Okay,
Please
I've got some questions I've got to ask you. Does she have a weapon?
Okay. No.
Okay. Is this
Okay. And I didn't even realize this when I listened to it earlier, because I didn't listen to this part. Saying that the police were kind of going after her. I guess she was being chased by police, but they were trying to help her, but she was running away from them. So that was interesting. So let's get back into it.
a suicide attempt?
No, she's not going to hurt herself or anyone else.
Okay. Is she alert?
She's alert.
Okay.
Mom.
All right. Ma'am, we're going to get help on the way, okay? If anything changes or she tries to leave, call me back.
Okay, my sister had something to say that she saw that I didn't see. She said, never mind.
Okay.
We got it covered.
Help's on the
Yeah.
way.
Thank you. And please don't send no combative policemen that are prejudiced, please.
Okay, well, that
They
will be
will
done.
kill her.
Okay? They just do their job, okay?
No, they're all they're scary. I'm scared of the police. Please,
Okay.
please
There's
help
nothing
me.
to be fearful of, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sometimes they make the serious thing worse.
Okay. Help's on the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
911 address.
And so that one was at 9 a.m. So what, 12 hours before Grayson ends up going there. And mom, it's like they knew that there was some bad apples in this police department. And I wonder if it's like a community where they know their cops and they know people that have already had bad dealings with Grayson, but they don't really know Grayson's name. I wonder if that's the situation going on here.
Fuck you up, bitch. Fuck you up. I'm gonna fuck you up.
Throwing it down.
I'm gonna fuck you up.
Are they fighting?
I'm gonna fuck you up. Come anywhere near me, bitch. Anybody. Come here. Come here. Hey. Come here. Come here.
I don't know who this is. They have it listed under the Sonya Massey cases or calls, but this is at around 1 p.m. on July 5th. So now we're talking about, well, I said 12 hours earlier. That was more like 15. Now we're more at 12 hours before Grayson ends up getting the call. But I don't know. It doesn't really sound, or I don't know what Sonya sounds like. So maybe it could be her, but it's interesting.
Yeah, come here. Come here. Come here. So motherfucking ass over here, bitch. Come here. Wait till you come here. Wait till you come here. If you don't let me get in this car, I'm gonna kill you, hoe. Right.
And is this is on the 911 call? They're not saying anything to her?
Come here. Come here. Because when I get you, I'm going to kill you. Okay? You did this. Yeah, you did. And when I get in, I'm going to kill you, bitch. Bitch, you know where my teeth is, bitch. You, bitch. I'm going to get you, bitch.
And the dispatch is just not saying anything at all?
Wait, bitch. Wait, bitch. You wait, bitch. Wait, bitch. Yep. You knew that my people was out here, didn't you? You didn't know that my people was out here? Huh? Huh? 'Cause me, see her ass.
This one is kind of long and I don't know where it's going. But I'm trying to let it get to the next one without skipping around too far, and just in case they say something that's important that we need to hear. We're at the point where I did not pre-watch it. Speed it up a little bit again.
Come here. Wait, come on. Huh? What's this?
Well, it seems like this is the call just moving forward. So not really telling us much. I thought this was the actual 911 calls from the nighttime, but apparently I pulled the wrong thing. So I don't know if any of you could find it. I think I have the wrong calls.
You have it? What? You know what? Because I take care of you, bitch.
No, I
Where
thought
you
I
running to?
pulled the right calls. These are not the right calls. So I'm gonna kind of skip forward because we still got like 4 minutes of this kind of sounding like we're in her pocket. So let's see if I can skip to the next call.
Central Dispatch, Mark.
Hello. Hello.
Central Dispatch.
Yeah. It's South. Yeah.
Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you speak up?
No. It's
Okay, I can't understand what street.
Hoover.
Hoover?
Ow. That's
You said Hoover?
yes.
Okay, what is the problem?
Man, you guys. Someone's gonna come over here and get this girl.
Sorry, what is the problem?
This girl hit me with a brick.
Oh, okay.
Hurting real bad. She's sitting. No, hold on. Hold on.
Okay, and why did your neighbor hit you with a brick?
Well, come find out, cause y'all, I can't tell you when I'm hurting real bad. And I just got a hold on now, cause
Okay.
it's hurting my left.
What is your name?
Just cause y'all come, I can't do it right now, man. Sorry.
Okay. What is your name?
Right address. I can't. I don't know hers. That's the only.
What is your name?
Okay. So
Update on a case we've been following out of Illinois.
Okay. So, that just closed everything. Sorry, y'all. I thought that was the calls. I listened to the first couple of them, and then those were not the calls I thought we were going to listen to. Don't know why on the second to last one they just listened to her basically walk around with us in her pocket, or whoever it was walk around with us in their pocket. But I wonder why the dispatch wasn't saying anything unless they already realized that she couldn't hear them. But anyways, let me go ahead and jump into the comments and see what y'all got to say about the what kind of led up to it, the audio recordings that we were able to listen to, and just general thoughts of what was going on. All right, we got some comments. We got Stargazer Kawaii saying, I do appreciate that they are charging him, but there was an issue with it being reported as self-harm at one point. Yes, he did state that it was a self-inflicted wound at one point, but we clearly found out through the video that it was not. Stargazer Kawaii says they knew she was having mental health issues. They made it clear. They made that clear. They made it clear to him before he arose. Before he got there. He could have been acting for the camera, but it did not seem like he knew initially. Kimmy Lager says DUI, aka breaking the law, is a way that endangers others. Doesn't disqualify people from becoming cops. Unreal. Yeah, he kind of got away with a lot. Our Laura says he was the other officer on the scene, and and what took place happened. He lacked this de-escalation as well by not saying something other than away from your hot water, reason to appear in shock. I'm just saying, as far as the second cop. We got Kimmy Locker saying they just do their job. There's nothing to be fearful of, ma'am. OMG. Yeah, exactly. Their job and their idea of doing their job is horrible. Island says the next door neighbor has paranoid schizophrenia, and we had a plan that the police were given my address so we could intercept and prep. He was harmless, but they had no way to know that. Exactly. But I don't think what's his name? Grayson was in the same boat. He antagonized that, in my opinion, but I'm glad that you guys are protecting your neighbor. Just Me MD says so. Okay, so there may have been some history with her and police for her to be that afraid. It seemed like she called them multiple times in the days leading up, and I'm like, did Grayson think he was going to be the one to stop the phone calls because like maybe he was tired of going there? Like, I just don't get the point. Island says, or her family knew she would make threats. Okay, make threats to the police or just to them. Our Laura says the shooter's partner could have been trying to distance himself from what occurred in front of him without a word. He's the one that implies she would throw the hot water. Did he? I thought Sean was the one that told her to go get the water. Our Laura says, assuming the worst because of an earlier incident is not all right, nor justified. He should have never went in the house, and he should have never directed her to go get the water. Zello says to our Laura, some of the video clips, the news edited together, clipped together, the other cop and the shooter cop's video together. Yeah, and they are there's two different videos. Zello Spoo says, so it seems that the backing up is saying something about throwing water, but it was actually the shooter cop who said it. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Island says 911 usually stays on the phone until the police arrives. Okay, but they didn't play like the beginning of the video or the beginning of the recording there. Our Laura says that makes no sense. Our Laura says, where are you going away from your water? The partner was the one who moved out of the way. The shooter then stepped in front of him and fired. I don't remember it that way. I saw the other guy. He was kind of standing back the entire time, and then he was like looking into the bedroom, and I I don't know. I'll have to rewatch the video because I don't remember it that way. Chelsea B says, I don't think it matters what Grayson was told ahead of time. He was in there looking to do something. Oh, yeah, for sure. He was trying to do whatever his plan was, which was unaliving Sonya Massey, in my opinion. He had a plan. They were done. They checked out the scene. No one was there. She said she was okay. And then he started to pry more. So I definitely think he had intentions to do something. And he accomplished it. And I think he thought that his partner's camera was probably off because partner was about to end the call. And then he went in there and did what he did. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's see here. Just Me MD says, I'm still questioning why they went into the house. I understand she allowed them to come in. Yet for what reason? We don't know because Grayson moseyed his way in there when the guy who actually had his camera on was far away from them. So I don't know what he said to her to entice her to let him in the house. I have no idea. Island says, it seems a little unclear what the family wanted when they called. They said she's not a danger or dangerous. Yes, I think they just wanted to get her help because the crisis team had already been helping. So it sounds like the crisis team told them to call the police, and maybe they didn't really want to, but they were just following directions, what it seemed like to me. Stargazer Kawaii says the partner had his view blocked while the partner had his view blocked by the shooter during the most crucial moments. Yeah, that is true. I don't know how they could have fixed that, to tell you the truth. I really don't know how they could have fixed that. Okay, y'all. So we're going to jump into, I said we're going to cover Ashley Benefield, but we are already an hour and a half in. I think her testimony with prosecutor is a bit longer than that. I'm not trying to be on here for extra long. But let's start it and see where we get from her testimony. Okay, so we are jumping into Ashley Benefield. I know y'all's got some strong opinions on this. We are here looking at her responses on the cross-examination. Let me go ahead and Bossy B, bring it in here, Bossy. Okay, so we're going to look at the behavior on the cross-examination, and we're going to also listen to the questions. I know it's going to be hard to really get the context because her attorney already asked her questions, and basically the questions that the prosecution is asking is debunking everything that she just said on the stand on her defense, when her attorney, who is generally going to coddle her and like, oh, you know, everybody felt bad for her. She just explained her position. And then pretty much all of her answers change when really questioned deeper on the issue. So if you haven't watched her direct examination, definitely go back and watch it so you can see how they set the story up. But we're going to go into the debunking part of things and see if these things make sense to y'all. So let's go ahead and get my life together to sharing the screen. And y'all, I am watching this on Law and Crime. I can't remember if they steal people's videos. I mean, strike them for copyright infringement, but here we are. We're going to see. And then if anything, I'll just split the videos up. Here we go. And we are Ashley Benefield testifying on cross-examination. So here we go. And can y'all hear the video? Because I can't remember. I don't think I did. I think I did do it right. Let me know if y'all can hear the video or not. Let me just redo it. Let me re-share the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay. I am doing it right then. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to play it a little faster.
Are you okay to have a seat? Welcome back, everybody. Over the lunch break, did anybody talk amongst yourselves or discuss the case in any way? Did anybody talk with anybody outside of the jury about the case? Or did anybody do any research on the people, places, things, or legal topics we've heard anything about?
No, sir.
Everybody says no. So, State, you may begin your cross-examination.
I would like to just start with a couple of issues. So first, Doug Benefield never punched you, ever, correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Doug Benefield never choked you, ever?
No.
He never kicked you?
No.
He never pointed a gun at you?
He waved a gun in my direction.
But it was not pointed at you, correct?
It was pointed at me while he was waving it at me.
He never came at you with a knife?
No.
Or a club?
No.
or a baseball bat?
No.
So there are 30 years difference between you and Doug, correct?
Yes.
And you got married after 13 days?
Yes.
And you spoke with him about, or organized with him about starting this ballet?
Yes.
And all of the money for the ballet came from him or investors, right?
My mom also funded part of the ballet.
You didn't put anything into it? Money?
Not from my account, no.
Okay. In fact, during
And so their point of this is she's claiming that he was using her, or I think an older man manipulating her. And basically what the state is trying to do is like, well, you also got benefits because you didn't have to pay for anything, right? So here, that's where they're going with the money part. I feel like they don't really tie it together well for me, but I see where she was going.
this time in South Carolina, you never worked, did you?
He wouldn't let me work.
Okay. When you said in the very beginning he flew you to South Carolina to visit before you were married, he paid for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the cruise you talked about going on, he paid for that?
No.
He didn't?
He did not pay for the cruise. No.
Okay.
Yeah, he paid for my friend to go, but I had already paid for my mom and I to go. So.
Okay. So
I think she messed up right there. I really think she messed up right there. She probably should have just said yes, but then she kind of made herself look like a liar by saying no and then going, oh, well, he paid for my friend and I paid for everyone else. So she could have said, yes, he partially paid or something of that nature, but here we go.
He paid for your friend to go?
Yes.
And he did not go with you?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
I want to ask you about the text messages that the defense talked to you about. It's going to be Defense Exhibit 3. I'm going to hand it to you. And I have the entirety of it on a spreadsheet, but I'm going to put up.
And so on this part, I'm just going to mute it right now. On this part, she's going through all of the text messages. So essentially on Ashley's direct, they only covered the text message that Doug was sending to her, which made it seem like he was being aggressive and threatening her. But in actuality, they were having a conversation. You guys are going to see having a conversation about other people. So I think the prosecution did a good job in bringing this in. I don't really remember why on direct they didn't allow this in. I guess they didn't allow her statements in because then it will be hearsay because she's trying to prove the truth of the matter asserted of what she's saying. Maybe that's why, but the state still brought her statements in to prove their point. So I don't know why they objected to it if they had previously objected to it. Let's see. And she's just taking a while to set it up. So there's that. So I'm going to just check some chats. Tanya said, if you cover the logo, then you should be good. I don't know if that's okay. I feel like we're already too deep in. Gimme Lucky says, I think she looked honest with the cruise thing. She could have just said no, Doug didn't pay for her to go, but she volunteered that he did pay for well, the question wasn't did he pay for you to go? She said, did he pay for the cruise? So if he paid a portion of it, it would have been better for her to say, yes, he paid a portion versus no. Well, actually, it doesn't come off as credible to me. Or it could be that she was just trying to recover or whatever it may be. God dang, how long does it take for them to set this up? It's like we just been waiting the entire time for them to set it up. So I think they are, I have it muted. But I don't think they started yet anyways. They were still setting it up. God dang, Bree. Okay, let's go.
As we go through, I'm going to expand it so you can see it. Maybe you could just read these for the jury.
Okay. One part is just looking at Renee.
Who is that from you or from Doug?
It's from Doug to me.
So from Doug, one part is just looking at Renee. Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell that part to start. The day I met her, I felt her before I saw her. Oh. My ex-husband lived to argue. Renee and I maybe argued 5 times in 15 years, and even then ended up laughing. Smiley face. I'm a clown at heart and love people being happy. That seems like a hard act to follow. Baby. Like, always being armed. Yes, my love.
And the outgoing messages are you or Doug?
It looks like outgoing is good. Yeah, outgoing would be from Doug.
Judge, can you see the date for reference of the messages?
It's up on the screen.
Constitution is spicy. I'm gonna speed them up a little bit more. Let me know if you think that.
So yes, my love, I think was the last thing you said. And then what's the next thing?
Are you doing things that are dangerous?
And you're gonna have to speak up just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Here.
Are you doing things that are dangerous? To think of all the time that you were not with me and understanding them and how to conduct warfare in them for the kingdom.
Where was he when he was sending you these messages? While you were on the cruise?
I believe he would have been in Charleston.
Okay. He wasn't on a business trip.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Continue reading. All the other people.
All the other people. Then a rectangle. It makes me so sad. And then another rectangle. If I dwelled on it, I would go into rage to remove them from the earth.
And your response to that?
Yes, baby, I hate it. It hurts. He said I could defend myself. And you were easy prey for predators. You're sweet and want to please people, and they use that.
And you said, I'm sorry, and then he said,
I desire to exterminate them, and holding back is a challenge. They are rats that should be removed.
And you said,
oh, baby, my love. Yes. Like that night, like last night, just the jerks arguing near you about put me in a sheer murderous mood, but I was stuck and I couldn't defend you. I said, thank you, baby, but I was okay. He said, but could have been a fight, etc. Only you being with me will over time remove images in my head. It is same. And knowing you were taken advantage of in my mind makes me explode with anger to take them out. God made you for me. And I said, yes, baby. He said to enjoy the beauty he did craft on earth. I see Renee as Eva's mom, not my wife. It is strange, but
can you pull that back up?
He said it is strange, but there is no emotional connection. I said, well, I'm glad. I just wish I could see it that way.
And you said, I'm glad. I wish I could see it that way. Were you talking about being jealous of his relationship with Renee?
I guess you could put it that way.
You can continue to read.
I know we both have a battle to fight in our minds. He was sitting on the mantle in the background. I'm crazy, I know. But it just killed my heart. I know I see you in my mind with a bad person, with your legs spread and a shitty person choking you out. That haunts me. I love you and I never want to hurt you. I'm sorry. Rectangle. Now all I see is some douchebag on top of you, fucking you with your legs spread and him choking you out and fucking you more. Right now, I literally want to kill him or them. I said, baby, don't even think like that. He said, you haven't seen the warrior side and you never want to. I said, no one will ever touch me. I am yours. I don't. You are right. I want to see you only as my sweet and loving husband who is gentle to me and kind. He said, we went from joy and passion to now I'm in a testosterone rage inside. And who is always there and safe? That's what I said. And I said, let's not ruin the day. He said, but kill the bad people. Okay. And I said, tell me that you love me.
So this conversation was about things that you had told him that people had done to you, correct? When he's talking about, I'm imagining this, I'm imagining people choke you, he's talking about a conversation that you had had with him explaining that this had happened.
I think he was referring to on the cruise one day I was talking to him on the phone and I was sitting out in the hallway up at the top deck and I was just trying to get somewhere where it'd be quiet so I could talk to him. And it was near, there was some like a bar or something up there, I think, I'm not sure, but people were coming in and out with me to a restaurant. And while we were talking, he heard.
Is the answer yes or no?
Just you need to allow her to finish her answer, John. You can choose.
He had heard a couple of guys that were talking loudly and he got upset because he thought these guys were going to hurt me. And so he talked about then that he imagined that, I was out in the world without him and that people were going to take advantage of me and that he didn't know what was going to happen to me.
And he was afraid for your safety.
Yeah.
And he was saying that if anybody hurts you or he thinks about anybody hurting you, it sends him into a rage.
Yes.
And that scared you.
I'm sorry?
And that scared you.
Well, as I said earlier, at the time, I kind of, played it off in my head that he was just my new husband who was trying to be protective and like show that he loved me by kind of being, manly.
Okay. So I want to talk about you having a baby. So Doug had a vasectomy removal in April of 2017, right?
Yes.
And you paid for that?
Part of it went on my debit card or my credit card.
And your intention was to get pregnant?
Yes, we had talked about that, yeah.
And this was how many months after you were married?
We got married in September, so October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 7.
And was this during this time? You said he had started criticizing you, right? About the way you looked, your clothes, the way you acted. He was, according to you, he flipped a table, tried to flip a table, threw a chair, right?
Yes.
He would scream at you.
Yes.
He would call you slut and whore.
Yes.
And you want a baby.
I mean, yeah, we were married. We wanted a family.
Okay. So the vasectomy reversal happens, and I believe you said that this baby was a surprise. Is that what you said?
Well, we weren't like planning on it right then. You know.
Were you having unprotected sex?
I suppose so.
Okay. So you knew that unprotected sex would result potentially in a pregnancy.
The doctor had told us that it probably wouldn't work for a while, so it was something that we thought would happen that fast.
Okay. But it did.
Yes.
How quickly? When did you get pregnant?
July.
And right around this time is when you say the incident happened where Doug threw a gun at a wall.
He threw it at me.
Shot a gun at the ceiling. I think you made several allegations, correct?
Yeah, he admitted to it, but yes.
What were you arguing about?
I think Eva was part of it. I don't.
Okay, pause it right there. So one thing that she kind of got caught up on was the baby was unexpected. That argument would make sense if they did not pay for a vasectomy reversal. But she did, and she helped pay for the vasectomy reversal. So you can't really say that the baby was unexpected. I understand, you thought it might take longer or whatever it may be, but to me, that's not unexpected. I was just thinking that it might have taken longer, but you did voluntarily have a baby. One thing that probably could have supported her position on this, which it's good that she didn't lie about it if this is not true, but if he was forcing her, because reproductive abuse is a thing. It's a part of domestic violence as well, but it doesn't sound like that was the situation here. Sounds like she actually wanted to have the baby too, and it wasn't like in a reproductive abuse situation here, because otherwise she would have said, oh, he forced me, or he said that he was going to get, the vasectomy reversal, and I had no choice. I told him I didn't want that. I didn't want to have a baby. She didn't say any of that. So it sounded like it was voluntary. I think that was a good point for the prosecutor to point out.
Specifically remember.
And wasn't it true that you had a problem with Eva and you thought she was disrespecting you at that time?
I wouldn't say I had a problem with Eva. There was a lot of tension in the house, but yeah, there's a lot of things going on that were not ideal.
You knew she was 15.
Yeah.
And you knew she had just lost her mother tragically to death.
Yeah.
And you were how much older than her?
10 years.
And this tension surprised you?
No. I mean, at first he had told me that she was really going to love me and that she was ready to have a woman in her life and that he wanted me to move in quickly because she needed a mom. So he made it sound like she also felt that way.
And you had no feelings of your own?
I was excited to get to be her stepmom.
And you gave her a shadow box right around this time, correct?
For Christmas, so it would have been in December.
All right. And what was the shadow box?
You want me to describe it?
Yes.
It was like a small picture. It had like deep sides and like the glass was at the front of it. And there was a sand dollar that I had painted and decorated. And I put it on like a black cardstock. And I wrote a saying on it that said something about how like you can be strong through the storms and that, seashells are beautiful things that come out of storms.
And that shadow box is the reason you were arguing that day with Doug, correct?
I know it came up at one point. I don't know if that was the reason.
What was the problem with the shadow box?
Eva had taken it apart and I guess had thrown out the thing that I made and was using the picture frame for something else.
What was she using the picture frame for?
She put a rose from her mom's funeral in it.
And that upset you pretty badly, didn't it?
It made me really sad. I'd taken a lot of time to make it for her and I thought it was special. And
you began crying.
Yes.
And you dropped to the floor and sobbed hysterically.
Probably.
You were so upset that she put her dead mother's rose in the shadow box.
It wasn't that. It was that she took it apart and I would have bought her another shadow box.
You went to Doug and said it was disrespectful that she took this apart.
According to Doug?
No, according to you. You went to Doug and said, she's acting disrespectfully. You need to handle her. She upset me. I'm crying.
I don't remember saying that about that.
Isn't it in fact what you were arguing about before this whole incident with the gun in the ceiling?
Just relevant as it relates to the water. Can you approach, please?
Okay, so they're approaching, talking about what's going on there. So while they do that, I will go through some of the chats if I have time to try to move some of them out of the way. Chris Mullen, welcome in, member of the channel, saying thought the prosecution was asking if you paid for her
So
to
the day that
go.
this argument happened, you actually at one point were in the car with Doug, right?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to the bank and going to do some other errands.
I believe so.
And the entire time you're upset about this shadow box.
I don't distinctly remember that, but the argument kind of came from there, I guess.
And in fact, it wasn't an argument, right? It was you being upset.
Well, he said that like life was out of control and he couldn't deal with the people at home and he couldn't deal with the people at the ballet. And he felt like everything was just too stressful and he was upset with everybody.
And didn't he ask you to stop?
I'm sure at some point.
And you didn't stop
I guess not.
for the car ride? No? Yes or no?
I don't remember.
And you kept telling him you need to discipline Eva.
I don't remember saying that.
Okay. And he said, let's just stop talking about this for a while. I need to think.
He was yelling at me.
So he's
I want to know where the prosecutor got the information from of this whole conversation. Like, is it in text message or is it in person, or was she interviewed and she said these things? Because it kind of, I mean, she's agreeing with a lot of it to a variation, but I'm just like, how do y'all know the whole conversation?
yelling at you, but you weren't sitting there like you are now, were you? You weren't sitting there like this.
I guess I was buckled into the car, so I probably would have been sitting further back.
And you didn't stop. And then you get home, you're still arguing, correct?
He's still yelling at me, yes.
And you're not yelling at all. And the fact that he had a gun with him when you continued to argue in the house was because he grabbed the gun from inside the car to bring his items from the car into the house, correct?
I'm not sure why he had it, I guess.
Okay. And it was in a holster.
I believe so.
And you both used to carry guns.
Mhm.
You carried guns on a regular basis.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have had at the time more than one gun.
Yes, ma'am.
And you actually bragged, as well as Doug, about having guns, correct?
Yes.
And you would go shoot them on a regular basis.
I haven't been to the range since before the presidential election.
Okay. But during the time that you met Doug at a political event, you had one of the guns in your bra.
Yes, that's where I concealed carried.
Okay. So having a firearm in a car or in the house is not that unusual to you.
No, ma'am.
All right. So after you get back inside, there's this argument that continues on and on and on and on. And you're still asking Doug to discipline Eva.
I don't recall that.
And you say he was waving a gun around and threw a gun at you. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
So he has a gun in his hand, could point it at you,
He did point
but
it
he
at me.
throws a gun at the wall.
No, he threw it at me. He missed me.
Okay. And it hit the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was this? What was the date of this argument?
I believe it was the end of June.
2017.
Yes, ma'am.
When was your wedding reception?
It was shortly after that, maybe like a week or two later. I don't remember specifically.
Okay. So even though you've been married before, you were now having a wedding reception.
Yes, when we got married, it was just the two of us.
And at this wedding reception, you had a lot of guests come.
I'd say maybe a dozen. Like my friends and family came.
And they're dressed up.
Yes.
You're in your wedding dress.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 10. I want you to tell me what this is. Or, I'm sorry, it's 100. I want you to tell me what this is. It's going to come up behind you. What is this a picture of?
That's a picture of Kevin, Christy, me, and then Doug.
Okay. And is that a picture from the wedding reception that we just talked about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 101. What is that?
That's a picture of me and my friend Christy.
And is that at the same wedding reception?
Yes.
And State's Exhibit 102. What is that?
That's a picture of my friend Laura and me, and then my friend Christy.
And this is also at the same reception?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. State will move into evidence States 100 through 102.
Any objection? I'm sorry, I missed it. Any objection to states 100, 101, 102? No. Received.
Thank you. And in States
So I don't necessarily agree with this line of questioning, because she's basically like, okay, well, this happened 2 weeks earlier and now you're happening here. That does happen in abusive relationships where it's like you're good at one point and then you're not good at another point. So just because they were happy at their wedding reception doesn't mean that this throwing the gun at the wall situation didn't happen. So I didn't really like that line of questioning, but I understand that the prosecution is trying to paint a picture like that they were a happy family. So there's that.
100. Are you scared here of Doug?
No, I would not say no.
You said on direct examination that around this time you were living the nightmare. Those were your words, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you living the nightmare here?
Oh, no, not at that moment. No, that was a very nice day.
How about at this moment?
Oh, it was a good day.
And States 102 at this moment?
Same. It was a good day.
Being very strategic with
So
her
you get
words
pregnant, and you decide to move in with your mother. So when did you decide to move in with your mother in Florida?
It was the end of August, I believe. I was really sick, and he brought me down to my mom's house and dropped me off.
Okay, but going to your mom's house was your choice, right?
We decided together. He said he couldn't take care of me. He was too busy, and that my mom could take care of me better. So I was happy to go.
You needed someone to take care of you while you were pregnant.
I was really sick, yes.
Okay. So you moved down with your mother, maybe August of 2017, you said?
The end of August, I believe.
Okay. But there's still this issue of the injunction in South Carolina while this is going on, this South Carolina-Florida thing, correct?
I'm not sure I understand the
Well,
question.
you said you applied for the South Carolina injunction, or you received the South Carolina injunction right around that time in 2017. Actually, I think you said November 2017.
Yes, a few months later.
So shortly after you moved in with your mother, a couple of months, you filed for an injunction in South Carolina.
Yes, ma'am.
And we talked about the fact that, or you talked with defense about the fact that it was a mutual injunction.
Yes, ma'am.
So both parties agreed to stay away from each other, correct?
Yeah, I believe that it was for both parties to stay away.
No evidence was presented at this hearing.
I don't believe so.
None of your complaints were heard at this hearing.
There was like a written, like a filing.
But the judge, other than that, did not hear any evidence at the hearing.
That's correct.
All of that was forestalled because the two of you agreed, okay, fine, we will have this voluntary stay away order.
It was decided through the attorneys, but I believe that was, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the judge never found.
And so the thing about her saying it was decided through the attorneys, the attorneys cannot decide for you. They can advise you for sure. They can advise you. If you did not agree with it, you probably should not have agreed to the mutual and you could have went forward with the hearing. So I don't like how she's paying in the mutual. She didn't have to agree to it. Like I said earlier, generally when people do the mutual stay away orders is because they think that they cannot actually succeed on their claim, which I don't know why. If she has evidence or testimony that he threw a gun at her, that is evidence of domestic violence. She doesn't have to have photos of it or whatever it may be. Now, maybe because she waited a while to file it, maybe her attorney advised her not to go forward with it. But even waiting a couple of months, she could have still succeeded on a domestic violence restraining order at that time. But whatever, I don't know what happened in the court and what her attorney told her. But mutual, your attorney didn't decide that. Ultimately, they present you a settlement offer. Ultimately, she has the authority to decide what she's going to do or not.
That Doug Benefield was dangerous and ordered this injunction.
I'm not sure what the judge found. I don't know what you mean by that.
There was never a court finding giving you an injunction, other than you stipulated to it.
The judge ordered it, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't like how she tried to, she's being very strategic with her words. Yes, the judge ordered it. The judge adopted your stipulation. It's not what the judge ordered. You agreed to it. So I didn't like that.
And this injunction, actually, part of it says that neither party shall harass or threaten or do those types of things to each other.
Yes,
right? Okay. So then after you're in Florida, you get a package that you say was in violation of this injunction. And it's a birthday present, right?
Yes.
It's a tea set.
Among other things, yes, ma'am.
And you like tea.
I like drinking tea, yes, ma'am.
You drank tea all the time with Doug.
Yes.
Okay. And you opened this tea and you claim that it smelled so strongly that you automatically rushed it to the sheriff's office.
I didn't specifically sniff the tea. It was when I opened the box. The whole contents had a very strong chemical smell.
So you immediately rushed it over to the sheriff's office?
No, ma'am. I immediately sealed it up and I left it in my garage.
For how long?
I don't remember specifically. It was maybe a day or two. I don't remember.
It was a little bit longer than a day or two, was it not?
I don't remember.
Okay. So after this time goes by, you take it to the sheriff's office and you claim that this was a violation of injunction.
Right. It was, yes, ma'am.
And you also claim that this was all part of Doug's poisoning scheme to poison you and your unborn child.
Has not informed me that there was toxic
I don't want to hear what someone else told you. I want to hear what you claimed, that this was part of his poisoning of you. Planned to poison you.
Well, based off of what I was told, that was the
Yes or
conclusion
no,
I came
ma'am? Yes or no? What, according to the way you felt, this gift was a part of his plan to poison you.
to. It concerned me, yes, ma'am.
So no charges were filed for that, correct?
Correct.
So you filed for an injunction based on the same allegations, right?
When my injunction in South Carolina was getting ready to expire, yes, I filed for one in Florida.
Okay. So when you filed in Florida, about what time was this? What date?
I could give you a ballpark. It was in the spring. I don't remember exactly.
Spring of 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you had left Doug in South Carolina August of 2017.
Yes, ma'am.
And you filed for an injunction in the spring of 2018.
That sounds right.
But you hadn't been living with him, correct?
Correct.
You hadn't even had any contact with him for a very long time when you filed for that injunction, right?
Other than him sending the box and, yeah.
So what violence were you trying to prohibit by filing this injunction? Everything that happened in South Carolina.
Well, I was just hoping that wouldn't happen again.
Okay. And at the same time you did this motion for an injunction, you also did a motion to terminate Doug's parental rights, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So during this time that you haven't been with him in almost a year, at least half a year, there hasn't been any violence other than you say that he said. You're filing for an injunction all at the same time that you're trying to terminate his parental rights. This is all correct, right?
Sounds correct.
And you hadn't even had the baby yet.
As of when?
As of the time that you were trying to terminate his parental rights.
I don't remember what the date was, but it would have all been around that time.
And then there's the hearing that goes on for this injunction, right? And this is in front of Judge Moreland, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had a 2-day hearing on this.
Yes, ma'am.
Partially, it was a motion for your injunction based on these issues, and it was also Doug's motion to be able to see his child, right?
I believe at some point things are consolidated, but I don't recall specifically.
So at this point, Doug had not seen his daughter.
Correct.
And your daughter was how old?
As of the date, like the last court date?
Yes.
About 6 months old.
And had there been any violence towards you between the time that you filed for this and the time when you had the hearing and she was 6 months old?
He had showed up at night in my driveway, but I mean, there's no physical contact if that's what you're asking.
Okay. And was this a time when the baby had been born?
I don't remember the date of when he was in the driveway.
How about, since we're talking about this, let's talk about the incident you talked about where the neighbor said that that Doug was there. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. He was outside standing in the yard at night, I guess trying to look in the windows at my house.
And where's this neighbor's house?
She's directly across the street.
Okay. And isn't it true, in fact, that this was very dark? It was very dark out.
Yes, ma'am, it's at night.
Okay. And your neighbor told you that she saw someone in her backyard walking, correct?
I think she said that when she confronted him, he kind of ran away.
Okay. She never told you he was at your window.
What she said was that he was trying to look in the windows.
In her yard.
Yeah, this part of it, this was bad. She is trying to manipulate the story and say he was looking in her windows when he was across the street. And again, we don't even know. We'll get into it. Don't even know if it was actually Doug. Just basically assuming it's Doug based on what the neighbor is saying. So she didn't actually see it. This person is in the neighbor's backyard and said that he was trying to look through her windows, but she's framing it as he was trying to look through the windows. Like from her neighbor's yard, he's looking into her windows. Odd. It's very odd.
The way the houses are situated, where he was standing, he was looking across into the windows of our house. Yes, ma'am.
And she couldn't see who this person was.
Object.
She told you.
She's asking Ms. Benefield about what the neighbor knew.
She told you she could not identify this person.
She said by just looking as dark as it was, she had a hard time identifying him by his face, but that she identified his voice.
That's interesting. So let's talk about
I also am surprised that they let this testimony in regarding the neighbor because it's hearsay. So
when she tells you that there's somebody,
the defense allowed it, so I don't know what
in her backyard, you go to her house, right? You end up together with her.
Yes.
Right.
Not at her house, but yes.
And you play a recording that you recorded like a voicemail from Doug for her, right?
She believed it was Doug, and she said that she could probably identify his voice because he had a unique voice. And so I played a voicemail I had from him, and she identified him.
She didn't tell you she thought it was Doug. You just asked her if it was Doug.
I believe she contacted us and said that there was a strange man looking across into our windows, and she was freaked out, and she wasn't sure if it was him.
Okay.
I don't remember specifically. I'm sorry, this is a long time ago.
And you play a recording of Doug's voice for her.
Yes, ma'am.
And she goes, "Oh, that's him.
Yes,
that's the one that was there."
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the ID that Doug was in her backyard.
I believe she also described his body type, his stature. She said he was wearing a baseball cap, which he often did. So I think that was probably part of it.
People wear baseball caps.
She was allowed to
sure.
your answer before she cuts you off.
I've been able to follow along, so I'm overruled at this point.
There's a lot of people that are 5'9", right?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
A lot of people that weigh 160 pounds.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of people that wear baseball hats.
Yes, ma'am.
And isn't it true that this person in the backyard said to her, "I live around here. I live here"?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe so. I wasn't there for that part, but that's what I believe she told me.
Thank you. Yeah. Now I want to move forward to 2019. Around this time, Judge Moreland had already ruled that you could not have your injunction, right?
She denied it, yes, ma'am.
And that Doug could have immediate visitation with his daughter.
She ordered time sharing, yes.
Did you start visitation with Doug and Emerson very shortly after that hearing?
Yes, according to the court order, yes, ma'am.
And you decided you were going to go with him on this visitation?
I offered, and he said he would be glad for me to come, so yes, I went.
This person that you lived in a nightmare with, you decided to go with him on this visitation?
Yes.
Now, the Judge Moreland hearing, when she ruled, she made it very clear that she did not see your side.
Sustained.
You had no faith that Judge Moreland was going to help you from that day forward.
Overruled.
You had no faith that Judge Moreland was going to help you from that day forward.
I don't know. They'd say I thought she would never help me, but I mean, she denied the injunction, yes.
So you go for this visitation with Doug, along with him and Emerson, and that began sort of I think Stephanie Murphy called it like a honeymoon period or a happy period piece. Would you agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So during this time, you spent a lot of time with Doug.
Yes.
And a lot of time with Emerson.
Yes.
And you weren't scared of Doug at that time.
He was being very kind.
Okay. So you weren't scared of him at that time?
No. I mean, I had things at the back of my mind that he was being very kind.
So then around summer of 2019, you actually make arrangements with Doug. He's going to move into your mom's house.
He wanted to move in, yes.
You actually agreed to that?
Not specifically. He didn't really ask my opinion. He told me.
Okay. And then the date that he was supposed to move in, you made plans with him, correct?
Sir, who's crinkling the paper? Is that Mr. O'Key? Sir, can you please stop? Thank you. Go ahead.
Who's crinkling the paper?
So during this time, you're speaking with Doug,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And you're talking with him about moving into your home.
He was insistent that we needed to move in together.
Yes or no, please. You were talking with him.
She interrupted the answer.
If the question calls for yes or no, the questioner has the right to expect a yes or no, or I don't know, or I don't recall, as opposed to a narrative.
You were speaking with Doug about him moving into the house.
Yes.
And about his things being moved and when they were going to be moved?
Yes, I'm sure.
And at any time during this, did you say to Doug, no, you're not moving in?
Yes.
You said no.
I'm sorry.
You told him, no, he cannot move in?
Yes, that's why he ultimately didn't move in, as I said, I can't do this.
Isn't it true that, in fact, you didn't tell him no, you just weren't available the day he was supposed to move in?
No, that's not correct.
Okay. So you're saying the day he was supposed to move in, he knew he wasn't supposed to move in? Is that what you're saying?
We had a conversation that day, and I told him that I didn't want him moving in.
Okay. And then you did not take his phone calls. You would not speak with him. I think the word was ghosting. You ghosted him.
I don't know whose word that is, but that's fine. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But visitation continued.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And you continued to exchange custody of Emerson where? The sheriff's office or?
I believe at the time we were doing the sheriff's office.
And sometime around this time, you show up to this visitation with an engagement ring on, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Who is Dennis Beatty?
Dennis Beatty?
Beatty. Who is that?
He was a gentleman I dated at one point.
And it was during this time you were dating him, right?
Sure. I told him not to move in, and then we started just doing time sharing with Emerson. Yes, after that, there was a period of time where we dated. Yes, ma'am.
And isn't it a fact that Doug filed for divorce after one of these visitations?
I'm not sure when he filed for divorce specifically.
He filed for divorce after he knew that you were dating this other man, right?
Once again, I'm not sure when he filed.
How did he find out? Did you tell him you were dating him?
No, ma'am.
How did he find out?
I think he was stalking me.
It wasn't the ring on your finger?
It was not an engagement ring. Ma'am.
Well, it was a ring. Did he see the ring on your finger?
I'm not sure what he saw. I wear rings all the time.
Okay. So Doug files for divorce, and all of a sudden you file for, well, you start a bunch of complaints, correct? About his treatment of Emerson. What you say, his bad treatment of Emerson.
Well, she started coming home hurt.
It's a yes or no question. Did you file complaints about his treatment of Emerson?
Yes.
Okay. And you eventually filed for another petition to get an injunction based on those incidences that you claim happened with Emerson.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you complained about the first time and nothing was done. Is that correct? With the police, no charges were filed, nothing was done?
I'm not sure specifically what you're referring to.
The first complaint that was made
about
Emerson and Doug. You agree that you made allegations?
Yes.
Okay. So it's like roundabouts of what's being talked about here. I would jump into the comments, but I feel like every time I try to do that, then they come back and I am taking too long to talk. So, prosecution is kind of going a roundabout to make it seem like there were not any issues in the relationship, which I definitely agree with a lot of people in the chats that in DV relationships, you can have good times, you can have bad times. Prosecution is trying to prove her case. And she has to paint it to where the court can see, or not the court can see, the jury can see that essentially this is retaliation. She doesn't want to share custody of the kid, so she unalives Doug, is what the prosecution is painting it as. And honestly, the prosecution is doing a good job as painting it as that. And apparently she did a good enough job of painting it as that to where the jurors sided with her with at least the lesser charge part of it. But so I understand that a lot of people don't agree with how the prosecutor is questioning or what she's questioning or what storyline she's going with, but she has to prove her case, right? She has to disprove what Ashley Benefield is saying is correct. And whether you like it or not of what answers are coming out or what questions are being asked, she is disproving what Ashley said, because a lot of things that she said on direct are opposite of what she's saying as it's getting dug into deeper. It's opposite of what she was saying on direct. So it makes her lose credibility. And that's exactly what that's her job as a lawyer. Ashley Benefield's attorney was supposed to do that to the state's witnesses. And from what I watched on the cross-examination and direct examination on the state's process or the state's case in chief, he was not doing a good job of doing that. Again, I didn't get into many of the feisty interactions. I only kind of went through the police and the daughter and the cousin. So I'm going to watch it and see if he gets a little bit more evidence in. And you are supposed to be more aggressive when you are dealing with a hostile witness. So whether you like it or not, she is doing her job. Okay, let's jump into it.
During this time, did you speak with members of the sheriff's office?
I'm not sure specifically what time you're referring to.
During the time that there were allegations that Doug was abusing Emerson, did you speak to the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am.
On numerous occasions?
I would say so, yes.
At least 5?
Probably, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And during those conversations, you were making allegations that Doug was abusing Emerson, right?
I was explaining the injury she'd come home with. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened.
Okay, but you were alleging that Doug was abusing the child.
I was concerned after her pediatrician called CPS and said that she thought she was being abused.
Are you aware that pediatricians are required to call CPS when a mother alleges that?
I didn't allege anything. I brought a video to show her at the appointment, and she called
So you
CPS.
Well,
after showing her a video of some behavior, she called CPS and she informed me that I was also a mandatory reporter and that it would be negligent if I didn't also call and make a report.
You brought Emerson to the pediatrician specifically for this reason, correct?
No, ma'am, she had her checkup.
But you brought this up to the pediatrician.
At the end, she asked if either of us had any questions.
And that's when you bring up, oh, she must be being abused.
That part like made me stop and think, because she asked if either of us had any questions, and the us is her and the baby, and I don't think the baby was old enough to talk. I thought that was funny.
No, I described to her the behavior that I was seeing, and I showed her a video, and she came to her own conclusions.
Okay. So you spoke to the sheriff's office about that investigation and other investigations, and you about the investigations that Doug was abusing Emerson.
A sheriff usually comes out with the CPI from Child Protection.
And you spoke to them.
I mean, they were there when I was talking, I guess, yes.
And you were talking, making allegations against Doug, assuming that he caused injuries to Emerson.
I'm not sure of my exact words. I was trying to describe to them what I was seeing and my understanding of the situation at the time.
You filed a petition for an injunction based on those things, correct?
At the advice of my attorney, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Whether your attorney advised it or not, you chose to do that, correct?
Yes, I filed the advice of my attorney.
And you were aware that if you went forward on this injunction, that it was going to be in front of Judge Moreland.
Yes, ma'am.
And this injunction hearing was supposed to take place on September 30th of 2020. Yes, 2020.
Yeah, it got moved several times, but that was a date.
Okay. So it was supposed to take place on that day.
Yes, ma'am.
And there were other things pending. Do you know what the other pending items were?
Not specifically.
Right.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
One of them was Doug's request for a divorce, correct?
Yes, we both filed for divorce at that point, yes.
So Mr. Benefield filed for divorce. You file an injunction petition. Then you file for divorce.
I filed for divorce first.
Okay. And then you're scheduled to have this hearing on 9:30.
Yes, the hearing was scheduled for 9:30, yes.
And you're speaking with Doug during this time, right? I mean, we just heard 200 and whatever text messages between you and Doug.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you at any time in that say to him, I'm going to go forward with this injunction on Wednesday, on the 30th?
No, ma'am.
In fact, based on those text messages, you were dropping the petition for an injunction.
Yes, we talked about dropping everything, yes.
No, you talked about it, but you said you were going to.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is what the result of the mediation was, that there was not going to be any mediation really, because you were reconciling.
Yeah, we agreed, I guess, in order to move to Maryland. My understanding, the attorneys were advising us to, if we close things down, that it would make it easier, like legal-wise, for us to relocate.
So you were telling Doug that's what you were going to do.
Yes, we were trying to work things out so we could all go to Maryland, yes.
And drop the injunction.
That was one of the things.
And you wanted him to drop everything, right? The motion to release the report, the dissolution of marriage, you wanted him to drop everything.
No, we filed a joint stipulation, so we could get the report.
But then you asked him to drop that, didn't you?
I know we kind of went back and forth with so many things.
Okay. You never had any intention of not going forward on your injunction.
Honestly, it was kind of one of those things that some days I thought that maybe I should, and some days I thought that I shouldn't.
So during this 1 week before you shot Doug, you're talking and you're saying to him things like, oh, we're packing boxes, we're getting everything together. This whole time, you knew you weren't going to stop that injunction hearing.
I hadn't decided yet.
Okay. Your attorney testified that you were going forward on that injunction hearing.
She was advising me to keep it.
Okay. So during this time when you're telling Doug to bring different boxes, bring tape, you asked him to go to Selby Gardens, right?
Yes, we all went. I think we got lunch and brought Emerson so she could play.
Okay. And you are having conflicted emotions about whether to go forward on an injunction?
Yes, ma'am.
While you're out having these types of experiences with them?
Yeah, sometimes things are really good and other times they weren't.
Okay. And so how about, let's see. This is part of State's Exhibit 98.
How do you know what it's doing? It's giving you clues, but I gotta guess. Get real. Real.
Working mother, not a working mother.
Working mother, not a working mother.
Not a working mother. I live in a
Slum. Oh no, it's running out of time.
I live in
House.
a
Real house. White.
to put together.
Oh, housewives of. Oh, real. Oh.
And this video was taken the week before you shot him, right?
I don't know the exact date.
When was? I mean, in your mind, it was very close to the time, correct?
To speed them back up.
Yeah, I'm sure it was right around then. I don't remember when it was.
And during this time that you were having these text messages with Doug and you're planning to move to Maryland, there's no violence going on.
No.
No,
I guess not. No.
He's not hitting you.
No, ma'am.
He's not choking you.
No, ma'am.
He's not shoving you around.
No, ma'am.
So this entire time, there is no violence going on.
I don't know specifically what time frame you're talking about. I'm sorry.
But during this, let's say from 2018 to 2019, when you're not living with him,
I mean, if you classify violence as him like
I'm asking
punching me or choking me,
violence during this time.
he could be rough sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he ever punch you?
Not during that time, no.
Did he ever hit you?
No, ma'am.
Did he ever use a weapon against you during that time?
Not during that time, no.
So in between the time of 2019 to 2020, where you shot him, was there any physical violence?
Like I said, sometimes he'd be a little rough, you know.
But other than that, he never was physically violent.
He didn't like punch holes in the walls or anything like that, no.
Okay. So when I asked you, has he been violent? You said, well, he didn't punch holes in the walls. Is that what you just said?
That's what I just said, yes, ma'am.
So punching a hole in a wall to you is a definition. When I asked, was he violent? Your definition of that is punching a hole in a wall.
I think that is violent.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So hang on just a second. So I want to get to the day that all of this happened. This happened on a Sunday, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're moving on, or you have a hearing on Wednesday.
I believe that's correct.
And you're moving right after.
I think the actual day of move was kind of in flux. It seems like it changed 1,000 times.
You're all getting in the car together, not together, but you're driving cars together to go to Maryland.
Yeah, I believe he was going to be driving the U-Haul and pulling his truck. And I think that my mom was driving her car and I was driving mine.
And you were telling him during that time that you were going to move to Maryland and attempt to reconcile.
No, ma'am.
You weren't telling him that.
No, not in those words, no.
Did you hear Dr. Broder testify about that? That he said that when you were with Doug. So you're denying that you ever told Doug that you were wanting to reconcile with him.
I said I wanted to find a way that we could do things together as a family for Emerson's sake, you know, and that's why we started doing things differently. He wanted to move back in, you know, together, and I told him that I didn't want to do that. I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Did you say that in Dr. Broder's office in front of Doug?
No, not in front of him.
So when you're with a safe person, a psychologist, you're not telling Doug this.
What? I'm sorry?
You're saying that you told Doug when it was just the two of you that you didn't want to move in together.
Yes, ma'am.
And you felt safe telling him, I don't want to move in with you, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes, we had that conversation many times, yes.
But you're in front of this psychologist who one would think is a safe environment with Doug sitting next to you. You hear Doug say to Dr. Broder, we are going to Maryland and we are going to try and reconcile. And you don't feel safe enough to say to Dr. Broder, no, that's not what I want to do.
I wouldn't want to make him look bad in front of somebody else.
Okay.
I wasn't going to disagree with him in front of anybody.
Okay. So the plan was to load up the truck, get everything done, and then move very shortly after the court hearing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had no intention of dropping that injunction. So you knew on the day of that hearing, he was going to know, right?
I'm sorry?
You knew that Doug was going to know that you had no intention of reconciling with him.
We had the conversation many times. I think he understood where I was at.
Okay. You saw the text messages between you and him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree that those text messages do not indicate that?
It doesn't say we're getting back together, moving in together.
It doesn't say we're not going to reconcile.
I mean, not specifically, no, I wasn't going to argue with him.
If you got your injunction on that day, September 30th, how would you have moved together?
Speculative.
What was your plan if that injunction was granted?
Different question of the objection. Speculative. No.
Yeah. So that's not speculative. What her plan was. It's either I had a plan or I didn't have a plan. What is your plan? And that's what she's asking. But yeah, no, to say how are you going to do that or whatever it is, but asking what her plan is, I think is a valid question. And I think she's going to come back and she's going to have to answer it if I remember correctly. So let's see what we got going on. Okay, Chris Mullen says, I thought the prosecution was asking if he paid for her to go, so I can understand her thinking that also. And that's talking about paying to go on the cruise. Kimmy Locker says the prosecution.
So if the injunction were granted on that day, what was your plan about moving to Maryland with them?
I don't know that I really had a plan. I wasn't even sure whether or not I was going to go through the injunction at that point.
Okay.
As a paper guy.
Okay, so I want to get to the night that all this happened. So you knew Doug was coming over.
Yes.
You invited him over.
Yes.
To help you move stuff in the house.
Well, specifically stuff in the garage, but yes.
Stuff in the garage to the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to your house a couple of times. He came and then left and then came back again.
Yeah, I believe he came twice that day.
And there is a gate to your community.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's at the gate, you had to let him in.
Sometimes, because he was frequent in and out, sometimes the gate remembers license plates and sometimes it opens and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes he would just follow people in. The gate kind of stays open for a while. But yeah, sorry.
But on this day, you weren't concerned about him coming over.
No, I knew he was coming.
Okay. And when he came over, your mother and Emerson went to the park.
I believe they were headed there. I'm not sure. I think they were down the driveway or on the sidewalk, something like that. They were on their way there.
You weren't so afraid that you wanted your mother to stay there and watch.
No, we were just packing to move.
Okay. So you weren't afraid.
I definitely didn't expect this to happen.
So it was okay with you that your mother left?
Yeah, that time.
Okay. So if I heard you right during your direct, you said he bumped your shoulder twice. Body check. I don't know if that's what you called it. He walked into you with a box, right?
Yes.
And then at the end, you say he slapped you?
He hit me. I wouldn't know how to classify it. He struck me. He hit me.
Was his hand open or closed?
I don't remember.
Okay. And because of those things, you claim that you thought he was going to kill you.
He never hit me before.
Okay. And you thought he was going to kill you.
He wouldn't let me leave. I tried to leave. He stopped me.
The question is, you thought he was going to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were in the bedroom, you decided to get your firearm. And it was where?
It was in a storage bin on top of the laundry basket.
Okay. So I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 52. If you could turn around and look at that. Where was your firearm?
It was in the bin on top of the basket.
Here?
That's the basket.
Oh, in a
Where was the bin?
It's that right on top.
Okay. So it was in here?
Yes, ma'am.
Why would you have a firearm in there?
I had just emptied all the furniture and everything out of my room, and it was kind of like what was left from my drawers, and so it got put into a bin.
Okay. And that was not your only firearm in that room, correct?
Correct.
You had a firearm in the closet?
My carry gun was in my backpack, which was my purse at the time.
So in this room, with a mattress and a broom and a hamper, you had two firearms?
Yes.
So you go into the room and you grab your firearm. Is it in a holster?
I don't remember.
Okay. And you claim that Doug does what?
He came and slammed the door open. He was standing in the doorway. He said, "You're fucking done."
He said, "You're fucking done." And that made you fear for your life?
Yeah.
Can we turn the lights up, please? Thank you.
Slow it down a little.
So he says you're fucking done and you point the gun and you shoot.
I held it out in front of me first so he could see it. And I said, "Stop."
Judge, if I could have her step down so she can demonstrate. If you could just come down. So Doug opens the door and does what?
He's standing in the doorway. Here, like this. And he said, "You're fucking done." And I held the gun out in front of me and I said, "Stop." He got into this like fighting pose, literally turned sideways. And he was like moving around with his like arms in his hands. And he started like inching forward towards me.
So he why do you call it a fighting stance?
Well, he was like a fighter. I don't know, like a ninja or something, I don't know.
Okay, so he's standing there. He turns
down.
like this and starts moving his arm around.
Oh my God.
Well, show me. What was he doing?
And like, I don't know, he got like this, and he was like making like fighting motions. I don't know, I'm not a fighter, I don't know.
Okay.
It was scary.
Did he have his hands in fists?
Not at that point, they were like, I don't know.
Was he coming at you like this?
And he lunged at me really quickly.
Okay, so he lunged. Was his fist up when he lunged?
I don't remember.
Okay. So you start shooting, and he does what?
He kept coming at me.
Okay, so then you keep shooting again. And he falls down on his back.
His legs went up in the air.
Okay, where do his legs go?
In the air.
How high in the air?
I don't know.
Did they go over his head?
I don't know. It's like his feet slipped out.
Okay.
And his feet and his legs went up in the air.
And were you still shooting at the time?
I don't remember.
You can have a seat. So after this incident, you claim that you had swelling to your face, right?
ready, jury. Please close up your notes. Put them on your chairs. I'm going to ask you to step out for a minute. You can use the facilities. It's not quite our mid-afternoon break, but we'll treat it as such. Please don't discuss it amongst yourselves. Don't discuss it with anybody outside the jury. Don't do any research like we talked about.
I think this is where it stopped.
Oh, jury's out. You can have a seat.
I'm sorry.
All right, we'll take 5.
Oh no, I guess there's a little bit more to it. I thought that's where it stopped. I think that's what the last part that I watched. So let's see what more there is and then go from there.
Proceed. Welcome back, everybody. Usual questions. Did anybody discuss the case or anything about the case amongst yourselves? Did anybody outside the jury or do any research? Everybody says no. You may resume your cross-examination.
Thank you. Can we dim the lights again, please? Thank you. So after this incident, you said you had swelling.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be left side of your face?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be where? Show me where.
Like in this area.
I think
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 103. I'm going to put it up on the big screen. Can you tell me what this is?
It's a picture of me.
And when was it taken?
I have no idea.
Was this taken before you met Doug?
I believe so.
Now I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 104. And I'll move it up a little bit. When was this picture taken?
I believe in October of 2020.
Wasn't it taken on November 4th of 2020?
I believe that's correct. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Redirect. All right, you can retake your seat.
All right, that is the end of her testimony. So if you haven't already left the chat, go ahead and drop your chat. We are like 63 chats in. So let's see how this goes. Let's go ahead and see what people think here. Okay, so Ashley Benefield's testimony on cross-examination, trying to figure out how to poke holes in the self-defense story that Ashley Benefield came up with, or her rendition of the story. The hard part about these cases is that we only get one side of the story. There's no one else in the house. There's no one else witnessing it. We only have to go off of her word because the person that she's in trial over is not alive to testify for themselves. So, I know a lot of you are saying that you felt bad for her, but this is the risk that you run when you're the defendant and you get yourself on the stand. You run the risk of being that. And honestly, in her defense, her what do you call it? Her attorney's position is probably like, okay, let's paint her as this victim. Let me put her on the stand, paint her as the victim. And she showed that in that her explaining what happened. So that was for the jury to feel bad for her. But it can also backfire if it doesn't come off genuine. So I'll see what y'all have to say about the case. In my opinion, that kind of backfired because it didn't come off genuine. I know y'all was saying that y'all felt bad for her in that situation, but I understand she was reliving the situation, right? But I don't think that the tears and the behavior came off as genuine. And that's my opinion. So Chris Mullen says, I did not like this prosecutor at all. I found her to be rude and condescending. You would probably find a lot of people doing cross-examination to be rude and condescending, especially when you are a prosecutor that has put a lot of time into the case. We got Kimmy Locker saying agreed to Chris Mullen. She came in hot and stayed hot. It was really gross in my opinion. We got Chris Mullen saying to Kimmy, yes, it made me feel sick to my stomach. Y'all, she got a job to do, and not a lot of defendants get on the stand to where you see this type of where you have to be aggressive. Just like when you saw her attorney questioning her, they coddled her. So there's different roles to play when you're questioning different people. Tiny says she really was Chris Mullen, the evil stepsister, and Ursula. We got Chelsea B saying Chris Mullen agreed. I hated listening to both these prosecutors. And then we got the Simona giving us a $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I know that was quite a bit ago, but we definitely appreciate it. Chris Mullen says yes to Chelsea, or Chelsea B. Yes, for sure. Especially the blonde one. She was dreadful. I don't remember a blonde, but also I haven't watched all the examinations. Okay, we got that Simona with a 99 super chat again. Thank you. Yay, thank you. Definitely appreciate it. Kimmy Locker says Doug imagining those things because some guys were drunk around her is unhinged. Talking about what happened on the cruise of him like saying that crazy stuff. Yes, it does come off as he had some problems. And I definitely get her like thinking he's being protective, but that is some red flags. But also when you're in a situation where you got married in 13 days and you don't know who you're marrying, I can see how those kind of things can come up. Our Laura says that sounds narcissistic, like she was intentionally putting those things in his head for attention. As far as, her saying that the people were around her. Well, I think he was on the phone with her and he overheard the conversation and then he just expressed his jealousy, but it also seemed like she had a jealous side to her. I don't think that either one of them, from what I've witnessed about the case so far and the testimony that I've heard so far, it sounds like they both had problems. And there are situations where people can be mutually abusive. So that Simona says, don't know why it won't let me send more than 99 cents. Wanted to share that. Let me see. Wanted you to share that your Black people get shot versus white people only. Maybe had a gun comment on AB case. The AB case. I think that's I don't know what the AB stands for, but about the first case made me really rethink. Thanks, replay crew. No problem. Thank you for joining in on the live and your normally replay crew. Definitely appreciate the super chats. Chris Mullen says she mentions that the doctor advised that it would take longer. I took that she meant that was why she was not expecting it. Yes, but the way she threw it in there on her direct made it seem like he was trying to trap her versus what really happened and that they were planning it. So we got Kimmy Locker saying it's not like she called it a surprise pregnancy, which would mean it was entirely unexpected. They just didn't expect it to happen so quickly because that's what the doctor said. But also she planned it and she threw it in there that it was not expected versus surprise. I don't think it makes much of a difference with the wording. Chris Mullen says the flouncing out of the courtroom was over the top. I think you were referring to when the daughter stepped out the courtroom. I mean, can't really gauge her emotion. They were talking about her dead mom. Kimmy Locker says his daughter is the same age now, maybe a year younger than Ashley was when they got married. I think realizing that helps put into perspective how young she was at the time. Chelsea B, at the time that they got married, but not at the time of the unaliving. Chelsea B says Doug didn't tell his teenage daughter he remarried someone after her mother passed away. I very much believe he wanted power in all situations. Could be. Destined to Be says, as a crafter that prefers to handmade gifts, I would be hurt too. Also understand Eva is going through issues herself. Yeah, there was a lot there. I still don't understand how the prosecutor knew that was the argument that was happening. Like, how did she get that storyline? Now, Kimmy Locker says the Destined to Be, I'd be hurt too. Eva was making a statement loud and clear, which I understand as a teenager who just lost her mother and suddenly had a young stepmother sprung on her and probably trying to be a stepmom because Doug allegedly said that the daughter needed a stepmom, which I would never expect my stepmom to be someone's age that could be my sister. So he was a little unhinged there. Chris Mullen says to Kimmy Locker, yes, she was sending the message that she did not accept Ashley and destroying the artwork and putting her mom's rose in it was definitely to send a message, no matter how rude that was. And again, we're talking about a teenager, and the purpose of the line of questioning was to see, okay, Ashley, you as an adult, whether you're a young adult or not, your reaction to that kind of caused that argument. Again, I don't know how they got to that storyline, but Ashley also did not deny that was the moment that they were having, or that's when they were having the argument, although she claimed it was not an argument. Chris Mullen says her behavior does not excuse his violent response to how upset she was, in my honest opinion. Chris Mullen says, and I agree, he shouldn't have thrown the gun. Chris Mullen said, just because she did not stop going on about the shadow box does not excuse him yelling at her and getting violent. But we are also relying, and I can probably see why we can draw the conclusion that he probably was yelling because he threw the gun, right? But we're relying on her testimony that he was yelling. She also told us that she was not yelling. When multiple people testified that she did yell and she would scream and kick and do whatever, not literally kick, but scream and yell. But we're now forgetting that people get in arguments and yelling. So I definitely agree. It does not excuse him throwing a gun. That is unacceptable. But him yelling, her yelling, if they're both yelling, why are we only blaming him? Zelospo says, for me, this was a problem with her testimony. She remembered lots of other things / problems, but this whole event, when she has to describe it now, is very vague until she keeps getting called on it. Well, the reason why it's vague, one, it probably happened quickly. And two, I mean, you don't want to say he was literally doing nothing and I shot him because I wanted him to get out the house and I told him to get out and he didn't. Like, you can't say that. So I don't know. And you can blame it on trauma or whatever it may be. We'll never really know what's going on in her head. Stella Spoo says, not that that means that she intentionally intended to murder him or that he wasn't abusive to her at other times. Yeah. And I'm not saying that he wasn't abusive to her at other times. I just don't think the shooting was justified. Chelsea B says, I really hate the narrative that the state is putting forward that victims of DV would never be happy or smile, or they are lying. No, I definitely agree with you there. DV is up and down, right? Because you're usually dealing with someone that's probably, if not a narcissist, close to being a narcissist or having some other type of personality disorder to where, they love bomb you and then it's aggression and then love bomb and then aggression. So I definitely agree with you that they can be happy, or like 2 weeks later, maybe you forgot about it and you were having a good day. You can have bad and good days in DV. Kimmy Locker says, agreed with Chelsea B. It's an outright dangerous narrative to push. Chelsea B says to Kimmy Locker, absolutely. Many lives lost over people choosing to not believe or to look into DV. Very sad. Chris Mullen says, of course, she looks happy in her wedding photos. Yep. Chris Mullen says, this was all the same night. Gross questioning. Oh, as far as her showing all the pictures as if they were different days. Yeah, I didn't get that line. Sue says, prosecutor, yikes now. Chris Mullen says, remember, she was very young at the time. She should not know the legal definitions or language precisely. And I think you're referring to when I was talking about whether there was a stipulation or if it was ordered. I don't agree with you on that. She knows the difference. The prosecutor explained the difference to her right there on the stand. Even if she was young at the time, which I think at the time she was probably like 26 when this happened. So how long are we going to give her the young excuse? We didn't give Hannah Gutierrez the young excuse when she didn't do her job as an armorer, but we're going to give this lady the young excuse. And I think they were both the same age when these things happened. So no, we're not going to use a young excuse here. And then she knows the difference between a stipulation and an order. And you can tell on the stand with that line of questioning, it went around in circles multiple times. She's trying to be strategic with her words, which I'm sure she's been advised to do by her attorney. I know, trust me, I'm in these trials. I know when people are trying to be strategic with their words. Destined to Be says, all the sniffling is cracking me up because I remember the judge asking if the reporter was recording every sniff. Did he ask that? Did he ask that? Chris Mullen says, this line of questioning is so disrespectful, especially to other DV victims. It does not matter if you've been away from the person for a year. You can still be deeply afraid of them and their behavior. I definitely agree with that, but her behavior was not consistent with the person that was actually trying to break up with him. So I definitely understand why the prosecutor went that route. You were so afraid of him, yet you were with him every custody meet. You were with him moving and everything. Because guess what? I have cases like this. When you are getting out, you're not rekindling. You're not moving to the same state. If you move and he decides he's going to move too, you're not moving in together. Or I guess at one point she said they weren't planning on moving in together. I don't see it at the same time. And I know that everyone's situation is different. But her behavior is not consistent with someone who is trying to get away from the DV partner, it's almost like she's trying to still intertwine the life. Okay. And she's saying it's by force, but also they don't live together. So it's a tough situation because I know every DV case is different. And being away from someone for a year, like I said, if she didn't trust him around the daughter, it's not up to her to then supervise the visits, right? She needs to figure out a way to have the courts order the supervised visits. And a lot of times in California, even if there's a restraining order against the other parent, the parent who has the restraining order against them still gets to see the kids. They view it as an issue between the parents, not between whether someone has the right to be a parent to the child. So I get it. Kimmy Locker says, you recorded a voicemail of him. No voicemails are recorded messages. That's how it works. Yeah, the prosecutor. Our Laura says, not looking good. Sounds like a woman scorned. And the prosecution did a good job of painting it as that. The prosecution did a good job of painting it as that, which is their job. Her job or her defense is that she was doing self-defense. Prosecution, she's a woman scorned. A Sparky 2 says, bad ideas to choose older women for this trial or elderly ladies, except they accepted abuse as normal, sad but true. That could be a thing. Sue says, yeah, I'm sorry. Ghosting someone is a crime. It's not a crime. Chris Mullen says, again, it does not excuse Doug's violent behavior because she was seeing someone else. No, it definitely doesn't. But that's not why the prosecution brought that up. They just said that he filed for divorce after he saw the ring. So she was basically like, oh, she filed. Basically, Doug filed for a divorce and then she filed for the injunction. That was the point of that line of questioning. A Sparky, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Saying older women expected abuse, sad but true. Defense should have gone younger instead of older. I haven't seen the jury. Is the jury pool or older? And maybe a lot of older women have problems with older men that date younger women. So if it was an older jury pool, that could have been a strategy in selecting the older women. I don't know. I haven't seen the jury pool. Our Laura says, I'm new to this trial, but it sounds sketchy. It does sound sketchy. Our Laura says, reasonable doubt. Kimmy Locker says, Bree, what did she completely reverse on cross? So I don't even know what we're referring to there. So I'm going to save that one for later so I can go back. And then we got Kimmy Locker saying, our Laura, it sounded sketchy to me before watching the trial, but the small details in his history made me believe her. And believing her aside, I strongly believe the state didn't prove their case. Zello Spo says, it's hard to look at things now and say that it was only him or that it might have been a bit of mutual manipulation / abuse of each other. I don't know. It's hard to say with only one side. Exactly. That's my point. It's hard to say with only one side, and the actual scenario, scene created, it doesn't make sense to me. Chris Mullen says, I understand that the prosecution has to do their job, but it does not make it feel less gross. I agree with you. She has to do her job, and sometimes you don't like it, but she's doing her job. I mean, I don't know what else to say to that. Like, she's doing her job and sometimes you don't like it. Kimmy Locker says, right, Chris Mullen, it's not her job to be nasty and condescending. You see it with attorneys dealing with hostile, well, at least I see it with attorneys dealing with hostile witnesses all the time. It's nothing personal. Tanya D says, she went differently in her closing, though. I have not watched the closing yet. Kimmy Locker says to Tanya D and Chris Mullen, right? The state completely changed their theory from the opening to the closing. Oh, okay. That's what you're referring to. The theory of, oh, they didn't want the report to get out and then you didn't want the injunction. But I thought that the report coming out and the injunction hearing was all in the same day, was my understanding of that. Zealous Boo says, from the bits I heard, I was going between not guilty and manslaughter. I don't think there was evidence to prove that she planned to kill him that day. Was it in, Was it just murder on the table? I thought it was like second degree. I think I'm confusing myself. Tanya D says, unfortunately, Taylor didn't object to her throwing in fabricated information. Nope. Kimmy Locker says to Tanya D, it's a shame Taylor didn't object to that because he was usually pretty good with objections. But for whatever reason on her cross-examination, he was not helping his girl out. Chris Mullen said to Kimmy Locker, yep, and in their closing, the state misrepresented a lot of testimony and also spoke about things that had never been introduced into evidence. I'm going to have to watch the closing. I meant to watch it before the live stream, but I just didn't have time. I got my own trials. Chris Mullen says, oh, that does not mean there was no violence on the day of the shooting that happened. I don't remember exactly what that's referring to, but that is true. Whatever happened before doesn't mean there's not violence that day. Kimmy Locker says, no, just because someone is a psychologist does not mean you're safe to contradict / embarrass an abuser in front of them or will be safe after the session. Mullen says, oh, this part is horrific and awful. I think that's when she was testifying to what went down. Chelsea B says, I hated this part. I wanted to jump through the screen at the prosecutor. Prosecutor got to do her job. Maybe I've become immune. Maybe I've become immune because this is literally her job. Whether we like the way that she delivers it or not, it's her job. Tanya D says, why did she get so close to her? Yeah, that was weird. That was weird that the bailiff allowed that. Chris Mullen said to Tanya D to intimidate and humiliate her, sadly. Kimmy Locker says, the recreation was awful. It was entirely unnecessary, and the prosecutor's body language and tone during it was appalling. Essie says, I believe Doug has a history of being abusive, but she wanted him gone and took matters into her own hand. And that's what the prosecutor is trying to paint. Chris Mullen says, Essie, I disagree with that assessment respectfully. Good job. Destined to Be says, the way the prosecutor mocked her for this in closing was so rude, disgraceful, and distasteful. I have got to see what y'all are talking about. Zello Spoo says, if you think she was DV victim and she was being abused, the recreation would be bad. But if you don't believe she was abused, then the recreation wouldn't be bad. To clarify what he was doing, I don't know. I think I missed the other chat. Chris Mullen says, I did not get what the prosecution was trying to prove with those two photos. They were trying to prove that her face already looked like that with the photos, from my understanding from the opening statement. But I don't know if they actually did it. I don't know if they actually proved it. Zello Spoo says to Chris Mullen, I think they were trying to show that photos from the past with her bone structure could make her look like she had a bruise on her face when she didn't. Yeah. Way better said than what I just said. Chris Mullen says, it absolutely did come off as genuine to me. I believed her. She was genuinely upset, shaken from head to toe. That is very difficult to fake. I think her re-imaging what was happening could definitely make her upset. It didn't come off as genuine to me. Kimmy Locker says to Chris Mullen, could not agree more, and getting choked up at things. I definitely agree. Reliving someone, you shooting someone could trigger emotions. It still didn't come off genuine to me. Chris Mullen says, yep, she had some spot where she briefly became emotional and then controlled it. That is very real. Also, Kimmy Locker says, Bree, the blonde one is the prosecutor that cross-examined. Oh, okay. I thought there was like another person, an extra person. Chris Mullen says, oh, I do understand that the prosecutor has a job to do, but it still does come across as gross. I can see how that can be. Chelsea B says, cross her, yes, of course, but having someone step out of the box that could be a DV victim to have them physically relive it is disgusting. The thing is, she's the defendant and she has a choice of whether she's going to testify or not. You kind of put yourself in that position if you decide to testify. Like I said, maybe I'm immune to this stuff because it's literally what it is. And we do DV trials too, not unaliving trials, but we do DV trials, and you're going to have to prove your case so that they can have the outcome that they want. So I definitely get the human emotional side about it, but she has a job to do. Whether you think it's disgusting the way that she's going about it, I mean, I didn't train her, right? Zella says, did she feel threatened? Maybe frightened to the point of him really hurting her, so she had to kill him? I don't know. Did it try to put him in his place and accidentally went too far? Don't know. I'm almost on that last line for you. Basically, her showing that she wanted to stand up for herself, but it went too far. Look, again, I haven't watched the full trial, but I'll say my comment on that till I do that. Chelsea B says, it's interesting. I actually came into this case kind of leaning guilty and ended up not guilty and upset about the verdict. Chelsea B to Kimmy Lockett said, same to Chelsea B. Kimmy Lockett said, I imagine Eva told the prosecutor about the shadow box story. Yeah, but she wasn't there. Like in the car part of it, like saying that they were arguing in the car. I mean, maybe her dad told her about it. That's weird. That's weird. Essie says her account of the moments before the shooting wasn't credible in my opinion. And I think that's where it's getting me too. It's like you ran directly to a gun instead of like trying. I mean, I guess she tried to escape once, but I don't know. Call somebody so that there can be a witness. Chelsea B says, I don't know. The doctor's testimony to me seemed like she was afraid of what would happen if she cut him off completely. Possible. Kimmy Lockett says, and without a court order in place that visitation has to be supervised, I completely understand why a mother would want to be there for their child, which he has to allow so she has to placate. Okay, Kimmy Lockett says, no, the defense disproved the claim that the injunction and the psychology report were scheduled for the same hearing. Oh, okay. Zillow says, I thought second degree was planned to kill him, so they went for the lesser included of manslaughter. First degree is usually the intent one. Second degree is usually not intent, but it's, y'all, I haven't done this type of stuff since law school, so I don't think second degree has intent. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to look it up. Chris Muller says there was murder and manslaughter. Okay, so murder would be, it doesn't have a degree. Okay. So that's what happens. Sometimes states, they have just capital murder or murder and then manslaughter, which is the same as second degree in California. I think that's where I'm getting confused. And then Kimmy Locker says, yep, she was charged with second degree murder. Okay, now I'm confused. Now I'm confused again. Justin DeB says, right, because it's your job, but we are regular people like the jury breed. Yeah, I know. That's what I get. I was like, maybe I'm desensitized to it because of what I deal with on a daily basis. Phoenix Waller says, I felt sorry for the little kiddo, lost her dad, and now mom in prison. And yeah, she's facing up to 30 years because she used a gun. So maybe they'll go light on her on the sentencing because I don't know. Maybe they'll do that. Chelsea B says to Phoenix Waller, absolutely. It was the saddest part of the trial. Jazzy G says, do you think she would have had a better shot if she didn't testify? I don't know, because the defense could not get in a lot of their testimony without her testifying, like the hole in the wall, the bullet in the ceiling. They would not have been able to get that in without her testifying. So I would almost say and I might change my opinion after I watch the rest of the trial, but I would almost say she might have done better had she not testified, because I think that's where the kind of loopholes were that painted him as doing something bad versus no one else was there when the shooting happened. So she's the only one that can actually testify to it. And like what a couple of people in the chat have said, her testimony to what actually happened it was not that clear. It's kind of vague, which is understandable because it's a traumatic situation, but it's kind of vague versus if she had not testified and people starting to think that he was an abuser, I think that she probably could have gotten the not guilty had she not testified. And that's that's a reason why a lot of defendants don't testify, because you basically are like incriminating yourself. And Kimmy Locker says, second-degree murder in Florida has to show that the defendant acted according to a depraved mind without regard for human life, but doesn't require proof of intent. Yeah, the second degree usually doesn't require intent. So I'm wondering what's the difference between their manslaughter and their second degree. Let me see. Zillow says to Kimmy Locker, this and then she was convicted of manslaughter as the lesser included by the jury. Yes. That's what happened. Okay. That was a lot. That was a lot of comments. Thank you for everyone that sent super chats. Thank you for everyone that hit the like button. Let's see where we are. We had a like goal. Oh, dang. If I made it 60, we might have reached it. We are at 59 likes. Thank you, everyone, for hitting the like button. And thank you, everyone, for the comments. There were actually mixed comments in this live stream. So I definitely appreciate all of y'all for giving your opinions on everything, because normally I notice in the chat that a lot of people have the same opinions. We are pretty much in agreement for most cases that we cover on the channel. So it was good to have a case where we're not in agreement. And we have had some cases where there's been disagreement. I wouldn't say every single case that we covered, most people in the chat agree, but a lot of the live streams that we do, most people agree. And in this one, some people were disagreeing. So that was interesting. I'm going to finish up the last chats and then I am going to get up out of here because I have court in the morning, right? Maybe you guys will think I'm a mean attorney if you saw me in trial. Okay, Kimmy Locker says to Zello, yep, and manslaughter, unlike murder, does not require evidence of the defendant's premeditation or depraved mind with disregard for human life. Okay, and then let's see. Kimmy Luckett says the crime of voluntary manslaughter describes a homicide intentionally committed while in the midst of a provocation. Okay, yeah. I thought that was second degree. Maybe I need to go back to criminal law class. I need to go back to criminal law class because I thought that was second degree or third degree. It might be third degree. There's all these degrees. Chelsea B says, I have to say, I've watched quite a bit of this case and people are wild. So chat was nice to have the conversation. Yes. And everyone's always so respectful. Sue says 11 more likes. Yeah, 11 more likes to get that. Well, I was 75. So we need like 13 more likes to get there. Kimmy Lockett says, it's hard to imagine you as mean, Bree. I don't know. I feel like when you guys saying she was mean, I was like, oh, you guys haven't seen nothing yet. Not necessarily saying me, but like even attorneys that I deal with. Zello Spoo says, or Florida just has other names for things. Yeah, that is also a thing that they do call them different things sometimes. Tanya D says, really, Kimmy Locker, I've seen Spicy Bree. And Laura says the text feed that was 2 weeks before made it seem like he wasn't too bad. What text feed? Oh, when they were having a conversation about like moving together and everything. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, y'all gonna keep catching me with the chat. So I'm gonna go ahead and log off. I hope everyone has a very good weekend. I'm probably gonna split this stream up just in case Law and Crime tries to strike me for covering the Ashley Benefield. I am gonna try to watch the rest of the trial, although I have kind of a busy weekend, but I'm going to try to watch the rest of the trial so that we can talk about this with me a little bit more educated on the case and the different evidence that came out. And it might be a private stream. It might be a member stream. Again, if you have not already, do join our Discord. Say hello. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what cases that you want to hear next. Let us know how your day is going. Whatever, the Discord is here for vibes and vibes only, and a little bit of case talk. Okay, so if you have not joined the Discord, make sure you do. And I will see y'all all. Wait, let me see. I got a private chat. Did I miss something? Okay. Yep. There we go. So I will see y'all on the next live stream. I hope everyone has a good night and bye.